Chapter 141. When the jasmine lily was summoned, the mottled jade-like color on its jade-green fasciated flowers seemed to be emitting an emerald glow. Faint multicolored light rose from within the dark green, making the unadorned flower look very extraordinary. Lin Yuan's jasmine lily had evolved into a fantasy breed. In the process of evolving into a fantasy breed, not only had it undergone a swarm mutation, but it had also undergone a fasciation mutation. Even an ordinary creation master would not be able to recognize that the Fei Lin Yuan had released was a jasmine lily. When Lin Yuan summoned the jasmine lily, the Extreme Guild Club's quartet and many combat class spirit chi professionals could feel that this Fei was quite extraordinary. However, no one would think of this Fei as a fantasy breed. They had never heard of a silver fantasy breed. However, when Lin Yuan used the jasmine lily's healing ability, he could not help but feel a little awkward. If he used the jasmine lily's fasciated flower to heal, the healing effect would indeed be much stronger. However, the happiness brought by the fasciated part of the healing was fatal to combat class spirit chi professionals in battle. If they were surrounded by this happiness and intoxicated in it, they would be torn apart by the alien insects that pounced on them. Therefore, Lin Yuan could only use the flower at the top of the jasmine lily that had not undergone fasciation to heal everyone in the front row. When Xianing killed high-level alien insects in the insect tide, it was inevitable that she would be ambushed by other alien insects and be injured. However, whenever Xianing was injured, Xianing found that there would always be a ray of green light on her body. The surging vitality in the green light could heal the wound with just one circulation. While Zhang Xiaobai's bloody leech resisted a large number of alien insects, the oily plasma on the bloody leech's body was almost scraped clean by the alien insect's attacks. Under the massive insect tide's attack, it was inevitable to be injured by the low-grade alien insect spikes and fangs. At that moment, there were many fine wounds on the bloody leech's body, and tissue fluid oozed out of the small wounds, almost drenching the bloody leech's body. Just when Zhang Xiaobai felt that the bloody leech could not hold on anymore, a ray of green light would shine on the bloody leech's body. The green light would quickly help the bloody leech replenish vitality and heal its injuries. When the combat class spirit chi professionals in the front row were having the hardest time to persevere, these beams of green light would always bring hope full of vitality. Regardless of whether it was the control of the amount of healing or the timing of the healing, everyone in the front line felt a sense of relief. If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't do anything while resisting the insect tide, the people who had been treated by Lin Yuan would probably want to give him a thumbs up. Although this was his first time truly healing other spirit chi professionals, and it was under such a dangerous insect tide, he was still able to heal them. However, Lin Yuan appeared calm and methodical. He did not panic at all. Every time, the jasmine lily's flower head would split into 8 healing light beams. 8 healing light beams was the best choice that Lin Yuan had experimented with. Otherwise, if he split too many healing beams, he wouldn't be able to achieve the perfect healing effect. If the number of healing beams was too small, it would cause healing overflow. In this situation where healing was scarce, any healing overflow was an intolerable mistake. He healed everyone on the battlefield according to the frequency of the 8 healing light beams. From time to time, he would also turn around to help the healing-type spirit chi professionals at the back to lighten the burden. Every time there were combat class spirit chi professionals who were seriously injured and had retreated from the battle, Lin Yuan would use the jasmine lily's embellished flower head to heal them. He would use the jasmine lily's embellished flower head to heal the combat class spirit chi professionals who had retreated to the back. However, every time he healed them, these seriously injured combat class spirit chi professionals would uncontrollably let out strange sounds. These strange sounds made this insect tide battle seem a little strange. Zhang Xiaobai pursed his lips and could not help but mutter as he listened to these strange sounds. Is it really so blissful to be injured by alien insects? Why don't I feel it every time I'm beaten up by Xianing? If this is blissful, what's the difference between Xianing and the alien insects? Xianing was busy killing rank alien insects. When she heard Zhang Xiaobai's words, she felt a fire ignite in her heart. His body, which had become fatigued from the high-intensity killing of the alien insects, and his speed, which had slowed down a little, immediately picked up. After Xianying's cat transformation, her sharp claws struck repeatedly. The efficiency of killing the alien insects was instantly many times higher than when she was physically strong. Lin Yuan found that among the healing-type spirit chi professionals at the back, the healing-type spirit chi professional with the spitting turtledove had really made a great contribution. Although the spitting turtledove's ability was disgusting, its sticky saliva could effectively stop bleeding. Therefore, almost every combat class spirit chi professional at the back who retreated to the back had the spitting turtledove's sticky saliva on them. Under the pressure of its contractor, the spitting turtledove frantically spat its saliva in resignation. The spitting turtledove was now very regretful. If it had known that it would have to spit so much saliva now, it would have said earlier that even if it was not for the delicious gray beetles, it would drink another bucket of water and the fourth bucket of water. If the spitting turtledove could speak, it would probably jump up and shout. I really don't have a single drop left. In less than 20 minutes of such a battle, a line of defense built with alien insect flesh had basically been built. At that moment, a violent collision sound suddenly came from a solid line of defense built with alien insect flesh. A few black spikes pierced through the defense line made of flesh and blood, causing a hole to appear in the defense line. A huge black beetle with spikes all over its body was quickly devouring the alien insect flesh on the line of defense that had been smashed open. This black beetle was one of the 3 Class 3 alien insects. Class 3 alien insect, spiky beetle. Now, one of the 3 Class 3 alien insects had finally appeared in the insect tide. It was said that alien insects were greedy, and this greed referred to the alien insect's desire for flesh and blood. Even the Class 3 spiky beetle was no exception. At that moment, the spiky beetle was at its most excited. With such a large number of insect corpses piled up here, the spiky beetle could not help but quickly use its mouth to enjoy this gluttonous feast. Xian Ying's expression turned cold. She circulated the spirit qi in her body, and a golden cat-shaped fey image appeared behind her. Xian Ying gave Tan Ran and Zhang Xiaobai a look. Zhang Xiaobai and Tan Ran looked at each other and immediately commanded their feys to attack to attract the spiky beetle's attention. The spiky beetle hissed when it saw the bloody leech and the lava hippopotamus. Sensing that the bloody leech and the lava hippopotamus had power that was not inferior to its own, the spiky beetle rushed toward them. The spiky beetle's best attack method was the sharp thorn's carapace that carried a huge force. Under the huge force, the thorn's penetrative power could even penetrate steel plates of the same thickness as the thorns. The explosive power of the thorns was truly terrifying. At that moment, Xian Ying had condensed the golden cat image behind her into her sharp claws. Xiao! Xian Ying, in her cat form, used all her strength to launch a sneak attack on the spiky beetle's weakest spot. Buggy's little anus. Baidu read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 142. During the spiky beetle's charge, Xian Ying's sneak attack succeeded. When the golden cat phantom hidden in the claws hit the spiky beetle's weak point, it exploded. The entire golden cat phantom scuttled into the buggy's small anus. This attack, which carried Xian Ying's full force, exploded in the spiky beetle's body. Even though the spiky beetle was a Class 3 alien insect, Xian Ying, a B-rank power offense-type spirit chi professional with a gold fey, had hit its weak point with her full force. Although it was still struggling, this struggle was clearly the spiky beetle's final resistance before its death. Soon, the spiky beetle completely lost its life and was motionless. Zhang Xiaobai immediately commanded the bloody leech to suck the spiky beetle's blood. The bloody leech could quickly replenish the stamina lost during the battle by absorbing blood. A large part of the defense line built by the alien insect flesh under Millstone Town's city wall was Zhang Xiaobai and the bloody leech's credit. If the bloody leech had not used the oily plasma to lure them, the fortifications would not have been built so quickly. At that moment, everyone had been fighting hard for nearly an hour, and their stamina had long been depleted. They were still persevering in the battle, relying on the faith, protection, and desire to live in their hearts. Zhang Xiaobai's bloody leech sucked the spiky beetle's blood dry. The spiky beetle's acidic blood caused the bloody leech to suffer serious injuries, but it recovered its stamina very well. Then, Zhang Xiaobai commanded the bloody leech to fill in the fortifications that had been knocked open by the spiky beetle. The spiky beetle's carapace was facing outward, and the low-grade alien insects that collided head-on were pierced by the spikes like tanghulu. It seemed that the spiky beetle had also contributed a lot to the fortifications. Under the night sky, the battle was still going on. Lin Yuan could completely feel that everyone no longer had much stamina. Not only had the front row's defense become a little strenuous, but even the combat-class spirit chi professionals with bronze and silver phase in the back row had also rotated much faster than before. New injuries were barely healed, and old injuries were added before they healed, making it hard for everyone to hold on. Healing-type spirit chi professionals were already rare, including healing-type spirit chi professionals with spitting turtle doves and bronze phase. The spiritual power in these healing-type spirit chi professionals' bodies had long been overdrawn. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly received an intimate greeting. This greeting came from Lin Yuan's spiritual spatial zone. Red Thorn had already awakened from its previous evolution, and Lin Yuan had a pleasantly surprised expression on his face. Red Thorn's awakening had come at the right time. Lin Yuan summoned Red Thorn without hesitation. A nearly 2-meter-tall strange plant appeared beside Lin Yuan's hand. At the center of the 2-meter-tall plant was a huge sphere. The folds of the sphere were covered with sharp teeth. Every sharp tooth was a bloody mouth. This organ of Red Thorn was the mouth of Relinquish that had evolved after reaching the bronze grade. Above the mouth of Relinquish grew a layer of huge but stacked flesh-like flowers. The flower was full of wrinkles and carried a strange fragrance. The digestive cavity that Red Thorn had transformed from growing the mouth of Relinquish was already filled with the powerful acid that Red Thorn had refined from digesting the flesh of various dimensional lifeforms. Not only could the acid help the mouth of Relinquish digest, but it could also be spat out by the huge rose-shaped flowers growing on the digestive cavity. The first 18 vines that grew from Red Thorn could already extend to a length of 7 to 8 meters. It was as thick as an arm, and the barbs that originally grew on it now had many new jagged teeth. The newly grown vines on the periphery had also reached the thickness of a thumb. Not only did it have barbs, but the barbs were also hollow. When it pierced into the target's body, it could also inject the acid from Red Thorn's digestive cavity. At this moment, Red Thorn was more like a killing machine than when it was at elite rank. However, this wasn't the reason why Lin Yuan was confident in Red Thorn. The real reason he was confident in Red Thorn was because of the new layers of flesh-like flowers on the mouth of Relinquish. This was an organ that grew from Red Thorn's new exclusive skill when it evolved to bronze grade. This organ was the spore cavity. Lin Yuan yelled. All combat class spirit chi professionals at the front, retreat. Protect the combat class spirit chi professionals at the back. Spirit chi professionals with gold phase, pay attention to killing the alien insects with grades. Everyone didn't understand why Lin Yuan would give such an order, but their instinctive trust in Lin Yuan made the quartet retreat at the same time. Red Thorn had not seen Lin Yuan for a long time. At that moment, the smooth vine that Red Thorn had specially evolved for Lin Yuan was wrapped around Lin Yuan's wrist. It expressed the intimacy of Red Thorn's bloodline, which wasn't considered high in intelligence. Lin Yuan held the smooth vine and said, "Red Thorn, release your spores to your heart's content. Red Thorn, release your spores to your heart's content and devour all the alien insects that can be devoured." Red Thorn could feel the alien insect corpses all over the ground and the countless alien insects not far away. It conveyed a joyful emotion. In Red Thorn's naive opinion, these alien insects were food that Lin Yuan had sent to it after it had just awakened. The spore cavity on Red Thorn's mouth of Relinquish trembled. Countless spores drifted out from the layers of flesh-like petals, and each of the spores flew to the alien insect corpses and quickly took root. In just a few seconds, Red Thorn spores absorbed all the alien insect corpses' energy. As a result, it grew into a miniature version of Red Thorn with only one digestive cavity and several vines. These spore newborn child ramets divided into rhizomes and quickly connected together, transferring energy to each other. A few stalks that were closest to Red Thorn were directly rooted in the alien insect's flesh defenses. They were also the strongest cluster of ramets that were connected to all the child ramets that grew from the spores. Finally, these strong cluster of ramets placed their roots on red thorn's roots and transferred the energy absorbed by the numerous child ramets in the sea of insects. Everyone defended for over an hour, and the killed insect corpses were quickly absorbed by these child ramets that were spread all over the mountain. Red thorn was still constantly releasing spores, so new and tender child ramets were quickly growing again. The child ramets that had previously grown were also constantly becoming stronger, growing from a height of 30 centimeters to nearly half a meter. If the rose-shaped flower in the digestive cavity spun, it would be able to swallow most of the alien insects. Each child ramet had a digestive cavity, and the digestive cavity had a large and beautiful red rose-shaped flower. Under this night sky, the sea of flowers was hidden in the meandering vines with sharp barbs. This scene was both beautiful and strange. Amidst the strangeness, there was also an extreme magnificence. While this sea of flowers was rapidly digesting the alien insect corpses, it had already started to sweep up the alien insects. Most of the alien insects didn't have a grade, and most of these alien insects weren't even at the normal grade. Such alien insects were the best soil for the child ramets to absorb nutrients. The sea of flowers spread toward the alien insect sea, as though it had already treated the alien insect sea as the most sumptuous dinner under this night sky. Everyone in Millstone Town, including the quartet from the Extreme Guild Club, looked at the flourishing sea of flowers that suddenly appeared in a daze. They then looked at Lin Yuan and Red Thorn's quartet and could not help but swallow their saliva. The vines danced without flowers, and the sea of insects trekked among the flowers. Baiduan read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 143. It was almost midnight under the night sky. The chill of late autumn had already climbed up and constantly stimulated the water vapor in the air, forming a faint cold mist. Everyone felt their throats tighten as they watched the endless sea of flowers collide with the endless insect tide and kill to their heart's content. However, the people in Millstone Town suddenly felt their tense nerves loosen up. At least the sea of flowers and the insect tide were now in a deadlock, allowing everyone to finally have a chance to breathe. The Extreme Guild Club's quartet looked at Red Thorn's quartet standing beside Lin Yuan and then at Lin Yuan. They could not help but feel that Lin Yuan was simply a boy of surprise. Every time at a critical juncture, Lin Yuan would always be able to stand up, be it the previous reconnaissance phase that could recover spiritual power, or the frontline healers by himself. Just as everyone was about to be unable to hold on, he summoned a strange plant species Fei and controlled the insect tide's advancement. Xianing sensed the quartet beside Lin Yuan's hand. Xianing could feel that this 2-meter-tall strange plant that she had never heard of before did not have a high grade. It only had bronze combat power. However, this plant Fei's ability was simply too powerful. It looked like it was specially born to control this insect tide. However, Xianing, who had participated in the tournament, did not think so. Looking at the normal child ramets in this sea of flowers and the elite ramets beside Red Thorn's quartet, Xianing deeply felt the terror of Lin Yuan's plant Fei. If this plant Fei's grade reached diamond, then what kind of lethality would the platinum ramets and countless gold child ramets have? If that was really the case, wouldn't this Fei alone be able to resist a class 3 insect tide? Lin Yuan did not know what Xianing was thinking. In fact, if he knew, he would have smiled bitterly. Lin Yuan was not having an easy time now. Red Thorn was constantly releasing spores from the flesh-like petals at the top of the mouth of Relinquish, which was actually consuming Lin Yuan's spiritual power. Lin Yuan was already a little overwhelmed, so he quietly activated the spirit chi imprint on his back. The spiritual power stored in the spirit chi imprint was supporting Red Thorn to constantly release spores, making the sea of flowers even more prosperous. It was all thanks to Blackie's exclusive skill, spirit chi imprint. Otherwise, even if Red Thorn had such an ability, Lin Yuan's body's spiritual power wouldn't be able to support it. Another point was that if Red Thorn spores wanted to grow into child ramets, it would require a large amount of flesh energy. It was also thanks to the alien insects that everyone had killed that the spores released by Red Thorn could quickly form a sea of flowers. However, Xianing was right about one thing. If Red Thorn really reached diamond, it would have a large number of insect corpses and sufficient spirit qi in Lin Yuan's body. The sea of flowers formed by red thorn spores could really defend against a class 3 insect tide by itself. When Xianing saw Lin Yuan's figure standing by the sea of flowers, she knew that this youth had a bright future. Xianing narrowed her eyes and said to the people behind her, "Everyone who still has the ability to kill rank alien insects, follow me." Xianing could already see that this sea of flowers might be able to control those alien insects that were below normal and could even be in a stalemate with normal alien insects. However, if they encountered elite alien insects, these elite alien insects would start to struggle in the sea of flowers. The barbs on the vines of red thorn's child ramets might be able to pierce the carapace of the elite alien insects. In fact, the barbs on the vines could even tear open a hole in the carapace of the elite alien insects, causing corrosive insect blood to flow out with strong acid. However, the struggle of these elite alien insects would easily tear off the vines of the child ramets and even crush the child ramets. Therefore, to these elite alien insects, the sea of flowers wasn't considered very useful. However, under the attack of a large number of child ramets, the elite alien insects would still perish. However, to those rank alien insects, the sea of flowers was even less useful. The Class 2 alien insects had silver power, and when they rampaged in the sea of flowers, they would soon destroy a large area of the sea of flowers. Xianing, Zhang Xiaobai, and Tan Ran led the other 2 spirit qi professionals with gold phase to kill all the Class 1 or Class 2 alien insects that were wreaking havoc in the sea of flowers. When they encountered some elite alien insects, they would also kill them. This would undoubtedly reduce the pressure on red thorn to spit out a large number of spores to nurture the sea of flowers. It was also the same as reducing the consumption of spiritual power in Lin Yuan's body. In fact, the degree of damage to the sea of flowers was considered a small matter in the current situation. There were simply too many normal and low-grade alien insects that were not even normal, and they were potential nutrients for the growth of red thorn's child ramets. Some of the earliest batch of child ramets had already grown close to 1 meter tall. In terms of body size, they were almost at the ramets level, and such child ramets' combat power was already just a trace away from elite. Such child ramets didn't even need to attack with vines when fighting against normal alien insects. They just needed the flowers on the digestive cavity to spin open and reveal the sharp teeth inside to easily devour these normal alien insects. The large amount of acid in the digestive cavity could also quickly digest the devoured alien insects. After turning the devoured alien insects into energy, a portion of the energy would be given to red thorn's mother ramets. The other portion would be absorbed by the child ramets themselves and become stronger. At the same time, red thorn's mother ramets still didn't stop spitting out spores, and these spores were still continuing to expand the sea of flowers advantage. While these spores were expanding the sea of flowers advantage, they would also rapidly replenish the damaged parts of the sea of flowers. Because these child ramets' rhizomes were all interconnected, even if some places where the sea of flowers killed fewer alien insects, the nutrients would be perfectly shared with these rhizomes. If red thorn encountered some Class 1 alien insects that wantonly destroyed the sea of flowers, it would also rapidly mobilize its energy. It would transmit the energy to the large number of child ramets near that Class 1 alien insect, and these child ramets would rapidly absorb the energy transmitted by red thorn's mother ramets to grow into elite ramets. Red thorn was already at bronze, so the ramets were also at elite. A large number of ramets would surround and kill the Class 1 alien insects and devour them to offset the consumed energy. In the stalemate between the sea of flowers and the insect tide, the sea of flowers still had the upper hand. The sea of flowers' nutrients came from the insect tide, but the insect tide was unable to replenish any nutrients from the sea of flowers. However, there were simply too many alien insects. Even if these alien insects were devoured one after another by the sea of flowers, there would still be countless alien insects rushing over. The sea of flowers' vines danced, and the alien insects hissed. This stalemate had almost been close to an hour. This kind of stalemate was actually the best thing that could happen to everyone at the moment. Such a stalemate could give the injured people and their contracted phase time to recuperate. These injured combat class spirit chi professionals and Fays were still waiting for the healing type spirit chi professionals to heal. Lin Yuan's spirit gather goldfish was no longer injecting spirit chi into Lu Pinru. Instead, it was replenishing the exhausted spiritual power in the healing type spirit chi professionals' bodies. It allowed these healing type spirit chi professionals to have spirit chi to urge their Fays to release abilities and heal these combat class spirit chi professionals that were alternating between old and new injuries. Baidu was the first to read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 144. This stalemate lasted for another half an hour. All of a sudden, an alien insect that looked like a glowing green object at night appeared at the edge of the sea of flowers. This glowing green alien insect was the second Class 3 alien insect that appeared among the 3 Class 3 alien insects in the insect tide, the acid tapeworm. When everyone saw the acid tapeworm appear, they heaved a sigh of relief and had solemn expressions. Previously, when killing the Class 1 and Class 2 alien insects in the insect tide, every combat class spirit chi professional with a gold fey needed to be extremely vigilant. They carefully observed the movements of the alien insects around them. This was because they did not know which alien insect the third Class 3 alien insect, the heart-penetrating iron line, was residing in and would launch a sudden attack. Now that the acid tapeworm had appeared, it meant that only the Class 3 alien insect, the heart-penetrating iron line, had not appeared. Everyone retreated to the defensive position and was preparing to deal with the acid tapeworm together. As a Class 3 alien insect, the acid tapeworm's defense was not strong and could not even compare to a Class 1 alien insect. However, the acid tapeworm was a very terrifying existence because of the green acidic liquid in its body. When the acidic liquid was spat out, the damage it caused could even corrode sand. Even a gold fey would have a large piece of flesh instantly melted when it came into contact with a little bit of this acidic liquid. If a gold fey came into contact with too much of the acidic liquid, it would even cause damage to its roots. Just as Xianing, Zhang Xiaobai, Tan Ran, the Millstone Town Guild Alliance branch president, and the burly man from outside were preparing to attack the acid tapeworm, Red Thorn suddenly became excited. When Lin Yuan sensed Red Thorn's sudden excitement and intense emotional fluctuations, he quickly understood the reason for its excitement. It felt like Red Thorn had seen something it liked to eat. The leaf-shaped diamond face storage box that the Moon Empress had given Lin Yuan contained a large amount of dimensional lifeforms' flesh. As Red Thorn ate these different types of dimensional lifeforms' flesh, it slowly developed a picky eating habit. According to Lin Yuan's observations, Red Thorn preferred to eat dimensional lifeforms' flesh that contained a lot of acid in their blood. Among them, the flesh of alien insects and abyss lifeforms was the most acidic. The acid tapeworm's carcass could be found in the leaf-shaped face storage box. Red Thorn had always been drooling over the Class 3 acid sac insect's flesh, but Lin Yuan didn't let it eat it. Previously, Red Thorn was only an elite. It was very likely that it wouldn't be able to digest the level 3 acid tapeworm. Instead, it would be injured by the acid tapeworm's powerful acid. When Red Thorn saw the acid tapeworm, the vine wrapped around Lin Yuan's wrist shook in a flattering manner. It was like a pitiful puppy wagging its tail when it saw delicious food. Lin Yuan looked at the acid tapeworm at the edge of the sea of flowers and nodded. When Red Thorn had been at elite, Lin Yuan had only fed it the flesh of silver dimensional lifeforms. Now that Red Thorn had reached bronze, it shouldn't be a problem for it to eat some gold dimensional lifeforms' flesh. Red Thorn's roots that were stabbed into the ground suddenly erupted with powerful energy. This energy wave made Lin Yuan feel as though the ground beneath his feet was forming a layer of air waves. This energy was the energy that the child rabbits had absorbed from devouring the large amount of alien insects' flesh and blood. Red Thorn transferred all this energy to the child rabbits at the acid tapeworm's feet. Those child rabbits that received Red Thorn's energy grew rapidly, and they quickly grew into rabbits that were 1.5 meters tall. These 1.5 meter tall rabbits were at the pinnacle of the elite tier. This was the current limit of the rabbits grown from Red Thorn spores. There were nearly 100 pinnacle of elite rabbits that were 1.5 meters tall that were produced by Red Thorn's large amount of energy. At that moment, nearly 100 pinnacle of elite rabbits that were 1.5 5 meters tall waved their barbed vines and swept toward the acid tapeworm. At that moment, the acid tapeworm sensed the attack and was about to spit out its acid. Lin Yuan raised his hand and circulated the spiritual power and the spirit chi imprint to release the blue flash purple butterfly's ability, Silence Scale Powder. When the silence scale powder landed on the acid tapeworm's body, it effectively stopped the acid tapeworm from spitting acid. In fact, the acid tapeworm's acid would not be silenced by the silence scale powder, as it did not need to communicate with the spirit chi of heaven and earth. It just released the acid in its body. However, the blue flash purple butterfly's exclusive skill, Scale Powder Halo, did a great job. The scale powder reflected the green light emitted from the acid tapeworm's body, causing light pollution that made the acid tapeworm feel dizzy for a short period of time. What Lin Yuan wanted was the short period of dizziness caused by the scale powder halo. While the acid tapeworm was dizzy, the pinnacle of elite ramets wrapped around the acid tapeworm's body. The barbed vines pierced through the acid tapeworm's skin, which was not strong. The vines firmly fixed on the acid tapeworm's body and pulled forcefully, dragging the acid tapeworm from the edge of the sea of flowers into the sea of flowers. The acid tapeworm's translucent skin, which was not strong to begin with, was torn apart by the pinnacle of elite ramets that Red Thorn had produced. A large amount of green acid sprayed out. When the acid landed on the child ramets in the sea of flowers, any child ramets that were not at normal would be corroded and withered as soon as they came into contact with the acid. Normal child ramets would not be able to last long before turning yellow and gradually being corroded clean. However, any ramets that had reached the elite tier would be able to withstand the corrosive acid. In fact, being able to withstand this acid was because Red Thorn had absorbed a large amount of alien insect flesh and had already developed a great resistance to the acid in the alien insect's blood. Moreover, Red Thorn's body's super-strong digestive fluid was evolved from consuming a large amount of acidic dimensional lifeform's flesh. The elite ramet spun open the rose-shaped flowers on the digestive cavity, revealing dense rows of sharp teeth. The sharp teeth immediately bit through the acid tapeworm's skin, and the digestive cavity pierced into the acid tapeworm's body. It began to rapidly absorb the acid tapeworm's body's acid. Then, it offered all the energy to Red Thorn's ortet. During the process of the ramets devouring the acid from the acid tapeworm's body, Red Thorn's mouth of relinquish was gradually becoming more acidic according to the ramet's offerings. The Class 3 alien insect was completely killed by Lin Yuan's silent scale powder and Red Thorn's wave of attacks. In fact, he had been able to kill the Class 3 acid tapeworm mainly because he had used the control ability, silent scale powder, to catch them off guard. The sea of flowers had already begun its attack. And the weak defense of the acid sackworms. Everyone was shocked by Lin Yuan's operation. This was a Class 3 alien insect that was comparable to a gold fay. Tan Ran couldn't help murmuring. This Lin Yuan is the legendary social elite, right? Zhang Xiaobai scratched his head and asked when he heard Tan Ran's words. Tan Ran, what is a social elite? Xianing looked at Zhang Xiaobai's silly look and rolled her eyes. Don't you know what a social elite is? A social elite is a person who gathers all the people in society, compress, refine, filter, compress, refine, and filter many times. Zhang Xiaobai was dumbfounded when he heard Xian Ying's explanation and blurted out. Isn't that scum? 166 Reading Network. Chapter 145. It was unknown if Zhang Xiaobai's brain circuit was strange or if he was deliberately teasing everyone. In any case, the nervous mood of the people below Millstone Town's city wall had suddenly dispersed. Apart from Xianing, everyone was laughing heartily. Xianing felt that her fist was itching again. At that moment, a sudden change occurred. Zhang Xiaobai originally wanted to casually command the Silver Gale Clam to launch the normal ability, Gale Blade, to kill a Class 1 alien insect that was destroying the Sea of Flowers. When the Gale Blade struck the Class 1 alien insect, it should have split it into two. However, when the Gale Blade struck the Class 1 alien insect's body, it was like striking an iron plate. There was a crisp sound of metal clashing. At that moment, a 2-meter-long black iron wire suddenly shot out of the Class 1 alien insect's body and went straight for Zhang Xiaobai's heart. Zhang Xiaobai wasn't considered far from this Class 1 alien insect. It was less than 15 meters away, and the heart-penetrating iron line arrived in the blink of an eye. When Lin Yuan heard that crisp duang sound, he knew that something was wrong. He hurriedly and subconsciously urged Red Thorn to grow a large number of elite ramets in front of Zhang Xiaobai. However, these elite ramets only caused the heart-penetrating iron line's attack to pause for a moment. They didn't stop the heart-penetrating iron line's thrusting figure. This was because Red Thorn had produced 6 elite ramets from 15 meters away. The digestive cavity of these 6 elite ramets had a bowl-sized hole caused by the heart-penetrating iron line. However, the pause caused by Lin Yuan's heart-penetrating iron line gave Zhang Xiaobai some time to react. In addition, Xianing had also recovered and pounced over. In her shock and anger, Xianing unleashed almost all the strength in her body into this claw attack. The sharp claw struck the heart-penetrating iron line's body, and there was a metallic sound. It was also thanks to Xianying's all-out attack that the heart-penetrating iron line's trajectory was deviated, allowing the heart-penetrating iron line, which was originally heading for Zhang Xiaobai's heart, to shoot toward another point. However, the heart-penetrating iron line immediately twisted its body in the air and forcefully changed its direction, continuing to pierce Zhang Xiaobai. However, due to Zhang Xiaobai's dodge, the heart-penetrating iron line didn't accurately penetrate Zhang Xiaobai's heart. Instead, it penetrated Zhang Xiaobai's shoulder bone. When the heart-piercing iron line pierced through the shoulder bone, it twisted slightly and tied the iron wire-like body together. After the heart-penetrating iron line brushed past Zhang Xiaobai, his arm fell to the ground. Zhang Xiaobai. Brother Xiaobai, your hand. Zhang Xiaobai. Woo. This sudden turn of events caused everyone to be stunned. Had Lin Yuan and Xianing not been fast enough, Zhang Xiaobai's heart would have been pierced by the heart-penetrating iron line and turned into a lifeless corpse. However, even if Lin Yuan and Xianing reacted fast enough, Zhang Xiaobai still could not save his hand. What Zhang Xiaobai lost was not just his hand, but his entire arm, including his shoulder blade. Zhang Xiaobai's face was already pale from the pain, and he was covered in cold sweat. His other hand, which was not broken, covered the wound tightly, but a large amount of blood still spurted out from the wound. Even the 10 fingers were connected to the heart, let alone an entire arm. The heart-wrenching pain made Zhang Xiaobai's vision turn black, and he almost fell to the ground. However, before Zhang Xiaobai's vision turned black, another violent pain made Zhang Xiaobai's body tremble. It was as though he could not even use his strength to cover the wound. Xianing had always had a strong style, but when she saw Zhang Xiaobai's suddenly severed arm, she knelt on the ground in a daze. She didn't even blink her eyes, but her tears continued to fall down her cheeks. From the moment Zhang Xiaobai's entire arm was severed, Xianing knew that Zhang Xiaobai's life was over. Even if this insect tide was safely passed, Zhang Xiaobai's hand would probably not be healed. The core of the Extreme Guild Club's tournament's official team was the Radiance 100 Sequence No. 18's White Devil. Xianing knew that even White Devil did not have the ability to regrow a severed limb. There were very few healing-type Spirit Chi professionals in the Radiance Federation, and there were even fewer high-ranked healing-type Spirit Chi professionals. Even if the Extreme Guild Club invited a King-class healing-type Spirit Chi professional, they might not be able to regrow Zhang Xiaobai's severed arm. The standard to be called a King-class expert was to have at least one fantasy breed Fey and reach A-rank Spirit Chi professional. Only such an expert could be called a King-class expert. King-class experts were no longer simply the Spirit Chi professional's grade or the Fey's strength. They were both considered together. For example, some Spirit Chi professionals had reached A rank but did not have a fantasy breed Fey. Under such circumstances, they could not be called King-class experts. Some prodigies, such as the Radiance 100 Sequence members, had fantasy breed Feys, but their Spirit Chi professionals were not at A rank. Similarly, they could not be called King-class experts. King-class experts were considered true experts in the Radiance Federation, and such experts were not easy to invite. Moreover, King-class healing-type spirit chi professionals were still the rarest among King-class experts. In the Radiance Federation, the ratio of combat-class spirit chi professionals to healing-type spirit chi professionals had always been about 150:1. At the King-class level, the ratio of combat-class spirit chi professionals to healing-type spirit chi professionals was not so exaggerated. However, King-class healing-type spirit chi professionals were still less than 1/20th of King-class combat-class spirit chi professionals. It was just like the Extreme Guild Club's S Tournament's core, White Devil. According to true combat strength, White Devil would not be ranked in the top 30. The reason why White Devil was ranked 18th in the Radiance 100 sequence was that she was a healing-type spirit chi professional. A healing-type spirit chi professional's strategic significance was far greater than combat significance. Furthermore, even if a King-class healing-type spirit chi professional was invited, each King-class healing-type spirit chi professional would have different fantasy breed fays. Every healing-type fantasy breed fay had different abilities and exclusive skills, and the healing aspect was also different. Some healing-type King-class experts were adept at detoxification, while others were adept at healing spiritual injuries. However, in the Radiance Federation, Xianing had never heard of a King-class healing-type expert's fantasy breed fay that could regenerate severed limbs. Moreover, even if there was such a King-class healing-type spirit chi professional, the Extreme Guild Club would have to pay a huge price. Would they really be able to invite such a King-class healing-type professional over? Tan Ran and Lu Pinru were currently attacking the heart-penetrating iron line, which had been seriously injured by Xianying's all-out attack. However, Tan Ran and Lu Pinru looked at Zhang Xiaobai with indescribable worry. Finally, Tan Ran roared. Lava hippopotamus, use lava bomb. A ball of boiling lava fireball shot out of the lava hippopotamus mouth and smashed onto the already seriously injured heart-penetrating iron line. The heart-penetrating iron line burned and turned into charcoal. Tan Ran's voice had a sobbing tone, while Lu Pinru's eyes were also red. Zhang Xiaobai's teeth were chattering in pain as he watched Xianing kneeling on the ground and crying because of him. Zhang Xiaobai struggled to pull up the corners of his mouth and revealed a simple and honest smile. Xianing, my arm is broken, and I might be disabled in the future. Will you support me? Baidu immediately read the latest chapter of the Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Bookhouse for free. Chapter 146. Zhang Xiaobai originally wanted to be mischievous and stop Xianing from crying. However, he did not expect Xianing to cry even harder. Zhang Xiaobai was shocked and hurriedly said, Don't cry. I don't need you to raise me. Look at how scared you are. Xianing stood up and rushed over without a care for anything, hugging Zhang Xiaobai. Xianying's action caused Zhang Xiaobai to grimace in pain. At that moment, Zhang Xiaobai heard Xianing say softly, I'll raise you for the rest of your life. Actually, my star webcard's password has been your birthday since a long time ago. Zhang Xiaobai was already numb from the pain. The severe pain and massive blood loss made him unable to stand. If not for Xianying's support, Zhang Xiaobai would have fallen to the ground. However, after hearing Xianying's soft words, Zhang Xiaobai's face, which was pale from the pain, had a little color. He felt that his broken arm was not so painful anymore. The president of Millstone Town's Guild Alliance branch was standing at the side, but he did not know what to say. He was a young elite, a youth from the reserve team of the B-level Guild Club's S tournament team. In order to protect the dimensional rift that had suddenly opened in Millstone Town, he had become a cripple for the rest of his life. Many spirit chi professionals who were fighting alongside Zhang Xiaobai in Millstone Town were also red-eyed. Everyone's killing speed of the alien insects had more than doubled, venting all their respect and worry on the insect tide. Lin Yuan took a deep breath and stopped supplying spiritual power to Red Thorn. As Lin Yuan stopped supplying spiritual power, the flesh-like flower on Red Thorn's mouth of Relinquish no longer spewed out new spores. Lin Yuan looked at the flourishing sea of flowers in front of him. This flourishing sea of flowers was enough to resist the alien insects. A large number of child ramets had already evolved into elite ramets after devouring the alien insects' flesh and blood. In such a massive sea of elite ramets, the insect tide that had lost the Class 3 alien insects no longer needed more spores to expand the sea of flowers. Lin Yuan sensed that the spirit chi in the spirit chi imprint was almost depleted and looked at the people fighting. Then, he looked at Zhang Xiaobai, who had a broken arm. Without any hesitation, he took a deep breath and activated the Jasmine Lily's exclusive skill, Recovery Imprint, which he had never activated before. In an instant, as he activated the Recovery Imprint, a Jasmine Lily totem pattern appeared on his forehead. The Jasmine Lily totem bloomed with light on Lin Yuan's forehead. The massive healing ability of the Recovery Imprint was transmitted into the fantasy breed Jasmine Lily's body. In an instant, the Jasmine Lily bloomed with the light of recovery. Lin Yuan burned all the remaining spiritual power in the Spirit Chi imprint. All the flower heads of the fantasy breed Jasmine Lily sprayed healing green light at the same time, releasing the massive amount of healing energy accumulated in the Recovery Imprint. The green light spots formed by the heal ability were directly transmitted to the bodies of every Spirit Chi professional present. Since everyone present was severely exhausted, whether it was physically or mentally, being immersed in the healing green light was like having a pleasant dream. The green speck of light was neither bright nor resplendent, but the warm speck of light contained a majestic life force. It was like a firefly flying out of the wind and dew at the end of the green duckweed's life. The firefly twirled and danced gracefully, giving the Spirit Chi professionals, who were suffering from new and old injuries, the most intimate comfort in the beautiful dream that they were immersed in. No matter how severe the injuries were, the healing light spots would circulate, and after a moment, all the injuries on the body would be healed. Even their mental state would almost reach its peak state. It was also at this moment, Lin Yuan controlled the fantasy breed Jasmine Lily's topmost flower head to shoot out a thumb-thick green light. The green light drilled into Zhang Xiaobai's body like a spirit snake, causing him to feel much less pain. Being nourished by this surging life force, Zhang Xiaobai felt his weakness and fatigue being swept away. All of a sudden, Zhang Xiaobai felt an extremely itchy feeling coming from the broken part of his shoulder and arm. Zhang Xiaobai turned his head and stared with wide eyes. Because Zhang Xiaobai found that his arm was regrowing. Everyone present, including Xianning, was stunned by the miraculous scene in front of them. This was the credit of the exclusive skill that Lin Yuan's Jasmine Lily had awakened when it evolved into a fantasy breed. Lin Yuan knew that the fantasy breed Jasmine Lily's exclusive skill, Severed Limbs, could regrow severed limbs. However, he did not expect that it would consume so much healing energy and spiritual power to regrow an arm. After Zhang Xiaobai's arm was completely regenerated, Lin Yuan realized that there was no healing energy left in the recovery imprint that he had accumulated for several months. The spirit chi in Lin Yuan's body was also completely depleted. If it were not for red thorns vines still supporting his wrist, he would probably not be able to stand now. At that moment, a ray of dawn had appeared in the gray night sky. This sudden ray of dawn instantly blasted the outline of the distant mountain, dispelling the cold of the late autumn night, and also dispelling a corner of this dark night. A ray of dawn shone on a youth wearing a silver mask. The youth's figure was in a somewhat sorry state due to the exhaustion of spirit chi. The youth's figure contrasted with the large sea of flowers next to him and the insect tide that was still surging into the sea of flowers. This ray of dawn elongated the youth's figure and also lit up a miracle outside Millstone Town under the dome. This miracle was created by a youth, and it belonged to this youth and every spirit chi professional fighting outside Millstone Town. At the same time, this miracle also belonged to Biyao. This miracle made everyone in Millstone Town look at the youth wearing a silver mask in front of them in a daze. Their eyes were filled with amazement, gratitude, reverence, and that trace of unconcealable fanaticism. This endless sea of flowers and the thousands of green lights of redemption were engraved in the minds of every spirit chi professional in Millstone Town. At that moment, Zhang Xiaobai suddenly rushed toward Lin Yuan and shouted, "Black! You're really my lucky star." Zhang Xiaobai was undoubtedly the most agitated person at that moment. Zhang Xiaobai, whose entire arm had been cut off, had recognized the reality and helplessly accepted his fate. Zhang Xiaobai, whose entire arm had been amputated, recognized reality the moment his arm was amputated. He had already resigned himself to his fate. However, he did not expect Lin Yuan to actually regenerate his arm. This was undoubtedly a grace of rebirth. To Zhang Xiaobai, this was a miracle that saved the rest of his life. When Zhang Xiaobai rushed over, Red Thorn immediately got into an attack state. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan hurriedly stopped Red Thorn's actions. Lin Yuan originally thought that he would receive the impact of Zhang Xiaobai's bear hug, but who would have thought that the other 3 members of the Extreme Guild Club would also rush over at that moment. Xian Ying's eyes were filled with tears, but her smile was unusually bright. She looked at Zhang Xiaobai's regenerated arm, and a salty teardrop slid down the side of her nose. The only difference was that her tears were not tears of sorrow, but tears of joy and joy. The trio and Zhang Xiaobai had long seen that Lin Yuan's spiritual power was overdrawn and was trying his best to hold on. Therefore, Zhang Xiaobai, Xian Ying, Lu Pinru, and Tan Ran gave Lin Yuan a gentle hug from all sides so that he did not have to support his spiritual power overdrawn body alone. This hug was especially warm in the cool autumn dawn. This was a hug that belonged to comrades who had experienced life and death together. Read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Bookhouse for free. Chapter 147. Everyone in Millstone Town felt the joy of surviving a calamity and winning to their heart's content. The insect tide, which was still surging into the Sea of Flowers, was no longer a threat to Millstone Town. With a large number of elite ramets in the Sea of Flowers, no matter how many alien insects came, they were just adding fertilizer and nutrients to the Sea of Flowers. Moreover, everyone in Millstone Town had reached their best state under Lin Yuan's fantasy breed Jasmine Lily's healing. Even if those Class 1 and Class 2 alien insects struggled in the Sea of Flowers, they would soon be killed in an orderly manner. Just as the insect tide was stabilized, the leaf-shaped diamond face storage box hanging on Lin Yuan's chest, a small red spider that seemed to be one with the leaf-shaped diamond face storage box jumped up. It leaped into the pinnacle Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift in the sky. Just as the Mother of Bloodbath leaped toward the pinnacle Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift, the Mother of Bloodbath sent a voice transmission to Lin Yuan. "Not bad, kid. You're indeed the Moon Empress disciple. Since you withstood the insect tide, I'll go get the source-type item in this dimensional rift for you. Count it as my reward." The Mother of Bloodbath had actually been prepared to save Lin Yuan in the insect tide when everyone was devoured and dispersed. After all, in the Mother of Bloodbath's eyes, the insect tide from the pinnacle Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift was not something that these 1,000 stragglers could resist. As Lin Yuan's path protector, the Mother of Bloodbath wanted to let Lin Yuan understand through this matter that no matter what, he should not easily put himself in danger. This was also the Mother of Bloodbath's way of survival that was engraved in its bones as a fae. Fays lived in nature and faced all kinds of threats at all times when they were young. A little carelessness could cause them to lose their lives. Life was the foundation of everything. If one lost their life, there was no need to talk about anything else. How could Lin Yuan not know the principle of "a gentleman does not stand under a collapsing wall"? But sometimes, some beliefs must be persisted. Moreover, Lin Yuan knew that he still had the Mother of Bloodbath as a trump card. In fact, the Mother of Bloodbath's prediction was not wrong, but it had not considered a variable like Lin Yuan. He had actually used his strength to teach the suzerain/myth Mother of Bloodbath a lesson. The Mother of Bloodbath had long seen that Lin Yuan's red thorn was a bronze source-type life form that had grown from a source seed. The healing-type fae that healed everyone was also a silver fantasy breed fae. However, the Mother of Bloodbath did not directly attribute all this to Lin Yuan. Instead, it tacitly regarded it as the Moon Empress trump card for her disciple. The Mother of Bloodbath did not expect that not even the Moon Empress was aware of Lin Yuan's strength. These were the results of Lin Yuan's growth step by relying on his own ability. When the Mother of Bloodbath headed for the pinnacle Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift, Lin Yuan finally heaved a sigh of relief. Lin Yuan quickly asked Blackie to release its ability, Spirit Injection, on him. After Blackie executed the spirit injection, Lin Yuan finally got rid of the powerless feeling of spiritual power exhaustion in his body. Zhang Xiaobai laughed at this moment and patted Lin Yuan's shoulder as he said casually, It's daybreak now, and a few hours have passed since the dimensional rift opened. Even if Millstone Town is located in a remote area, Ascending Dragon City should have already noticed it. Therefore, the Ascending Dragon Guards should be here soon to clean up this Pinnacle Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift. Tan Ran also took a deep breath and said, "We can finally put down our burdens." Xianing looked at Zhang Xiaobai's strange smile and felt her fists itch again. He directly gave Zhang Xiaobai a heavy punch, causing Zhang Xiaobai to rub his stomach and say with grievance, "Hey, hey, hey, you stinky sister. Didn't you say you would support me before? Tell me. Say it. When did you change your Star Webcard's password to my birthday? Why didn't I know about this?" Xianing didn't expect her whisper to be shouted out by Zhang Xiaobai as if he had a screw loose. She was so angry that she automatically grasped the fatal rhythm when she punched out. Zhang Xiaobai was beaten until he screamed and shouted for help. When Xianing threw out a heavy punch, her face secretly lit up with a red glow, completely red. Tan Ran could not help but sigh. Big brother Xiaobai always provokes big sister Xianing. Does big brother Zhang Xiaobai like the feeling of pain and happiness? When Lu Pinru heard Tan Ran's words, she felt a little helpless. It seemed that she could not let Tan Ran and Zhang Xiaobai browse Star Web and read those strange books in the future. However, after surviving a calamity, Lu Pinru made a rare joke. "Tan Ran, if you want to experience the feeling of pain and happiness, I can lock you in my wardrobe." "Tan Ran?" Lin Yuan put on a handsome and puzzled expression. Zhang Xiaobai, who was rubbing his stomach, shouted when he heard Lu Pinru's words. "Lu Pinru, you can't hide liking someone." "Lu Pinru?" "Because even if you hide it in the wardrobe, your future husband can still find it." "Lu Pinru?" "Tan Ran?" "Lin Yuan?" Xianing rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobai. "It seems that I hit you too lightly. Zhang Xiaobai, don't run if you're capable." Lu Pinru wiped off the sweat on her forehead, which she had not had time to wipe off during the previous battle. "It's all thanks to you this time, Black. If it weren't for you, none of us would have survived." Lu Pinru spoke very solemnly as she looked at the insect tide, which was still blocked by the sea of flowers, and the smiling people in Millstone Town. Lin Pinru was very glad that Lin Yuan had applied to form a temporary team with the four of them, and they had also included him in the team. At that moment, the Pinnacle Class 1 dimensional rift, which was still falling from the alien insects, suddenly distorted. The sky, which was originally broken like a mirror, returned to normal under this distortion. The dark red Pinnacle Class 1 dimensional rift also completely disappeared under this distortion as if it had never appeared. At that moment, a 1 centimeter sized red spider that looked like it was carved out of crystal had once again appeared on Lin Yuan's leaf-shaped face storage box just before the dimensional rift disappeared. The mother of Bloodbath's strange but very pleasant voice sounded, but it seemed to have a hint of contempt for Lin Yuan. "The source-type item in this Pinnacle Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift is really a stroke of luck for you to actually have such a compatible source-type item. However, this source-type item is not for you, but for the plant produced by your source seed." The mother of Bloodbath smacked its lips and felt as sour as if it had eaten a cart of green lemons. Lin Yuan chuckled. This kind of praise for Lin Yuan could come as many times as he wanted. It was simply too satisfying. Baidu read the latest chapter of the Imperial Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Bookhouse for free. Chapter 148. There was undoubtedly a variety of source-type items in dimensional rifts. There was no exact strength or weakness of source-type items in terms of ability. It was only suitable or unsuitable, or how one wanted to develop it in the future. Just like the source seed that Lin Yuan had used to nurture Red Thorn, it had once been recognized by the Radiance Federation scholars as one of the most useless source-type items. However, in Lin Yuan's hands, Red Thorn had perfectly blocked this Pinnacle Class 1 insect tide based on its exclusive skill at bronze. There were too many types of source-type items, and it had only been over 100 years since the Radiance Federation's Spirit Chi awakening. Although many dimensional rifts had opened, there were still a large number of source-type items that still maintained their uniqueness. Every spirit chi professional's fey combination and choice of route were different. Therefore, it also required a lot of luck to find a suitable source-type item among the random appearance of the dimensional rift. Fey's contracts all needed to rely on the spirit chi professional's spiritual energy, but source seeds were not necessarily the same. Although there was a difference in strength between each person's mental power, there was also a limit to it. The source seed contract might not occupy spiritual energy to a large extent. This was undoubtedly equivalent to having an additional contract position for Feys. In such a situation, for people like Lin Yuan, whose spiritual energy was almost completely occupied by the contracted Morbius, source-type items that might not occupy spiritual energy were undoubtedly an excellent choice. However, source seeds that did not occupy spiritual energy might also have more stringent requirements. For example, Chen Rui's spine goo needed to penetrate a section of the spine and damage the contractor's body's roots. Source-type items were so precious that even the Star Web's treasure pavilion rarely circulated. This was because even if any source-type item was not suitable for them, most experts with source-type items would choose to keep them and not choose to sell them easily. This was because, apart from personally going to the Dimensional Rift to retrieve source-type items, the only way was to go to the Radiance Federation's officials to exchange for merits. Private transactions of source-type items were mostly barter, using source-type items to exchange for source-type items. As for going to the Dimensional Rift to personally retrieve source-type items, it was not easy to do. When the Pinnacle Class 1 Alien Insect Dimensional Rift opened, only 3 Class 3 alien insects descended from the insect tide due to the Dimensional Rift's energy. However, there would definitely be plenty of Class 3 alien insects in a Pinnacle Class 1 Dimensional Rift. The reason why the insect sea was constantly surging out of the Dimensional Rift was that a large portion of them were being squeezed out by the other alien insects inside. It was imaginable how dangerous this Pinnacle Class 1 Dimensional Rift was. Only a suzerain/myth fey like the Mother of Bloodbath could extract source-type lifeforms from a Pinnacle Class 1 Dimensional Rift so easily. Otherwise, even King-class experts would need to form at least a small team to completely conquer the world inside the Pinnacle Class 1 Alien Insect Dimensional Rift and retrieve the source-type item. Lin Yuan did not check why the source-type item that the Mother of Bloodbath had taken out of the Alien Insect Dimensional Rift had been deemed suitable. Instead, he placed the source-type item, which looked like a translucent thumb-sized insect egg, in the diamond phase storage box. He felt that this was not a good time to study this newly obtained source-type item. At that moment, many sharp cries suddenly came from the horizon, which sounded like the sound of large flying fays. Soon, the sharp chirping sound was getting closer and closer. Lin Yuan looked over and recognized that these flying gold fays were blade-winged feather eagles. On the back of each gold blade-winged feather eagle stood a spirit chi professional with armor engraved with dragon species fey patterns. These people who had suddenly rushed over on the blade-winged feather eagles were the Ascending Dragon Guards under the famous city Lord of Ascending Dragon City. At that moment, the Pinnacle Class 1 Dimensional Rift in the sky had already disappeared, and there would be no new alien insects appearing. The remaining alien insects were like stagnant water without a source. They were devoured by the sea of flowers and could no longer be replenished. Soon, most of these alien insects disappeared. When the Ascending Dragon Guards saw the sea of flowers devouring the insect tide in Millstone Town, they could not help but open their mouths wide. In particular, the leader of the Ascending Dragon Guards felt that the scene in front of him was unreal. However, when he saw this intact Millstone Town, he could not help but burst into laughter. His laughter was filled with the relief of his worries dissipating. When the Ascending Dragon Guards had received the news that a Pinnacle Class 1 Dimensional Rift had opened outside of Millstone Town, they had immediately assembled 2 large groups to rescue Millstone Town without any delay. However, when they had arrived, the Ascending Dragon Guards had all wanted their gold blade-winged feather eagles to fly faster. A Pinnacle Class 1 Dimensional Rift was not to be trifled with. They had originally thought that Millstone Town might have become the alien insects' paradise, but when they arrived, they realized that Millstone Town had been protected in perfect condition. However, the Ascending Dragon Guards were rather curious about where the Pinnacle Class 1 Dimensional Rift in the sky had gone. If they had not seen the traces of the battle outside of Millstone Town, the Ascending Dragon Guards would not have believed that a Pinnacle Class 1 Dimensional Rift had opened here. However, the ascending dragon guards did not really care about all this. After all, their objective was to rescue Millstone Town. As for the subsequent matters, the other departments of Ascending Dragon City would handle them. When the leader of the Ascending Dragon Guards saw the current situation, he could not help but rub his big bald head. The rescue mission in Millstone Town was probably going to be fruitless because the insectoid tide was almost completely devoured by the strange sea of flowers. Lin Yuan was undoubtedly the one who had benefited the most from this dimensional rift. Lin Yuan's gains did not just refer to the source-type item in the Pinnacle Class 1 Alien Insect Dimensional Rift. Red Thorn's child ramets and ramets had almost devoured this insect tide and given Red Thorn a massive amount of flesh energy. It directly improved Red Thorn's quality. He had been suppressing Red Thorn's grade and letting it improve its quality first. After devouring the massive amount of flesh and blood energy, Red Thorn's grade had jumped from bronze normal to excellent and advanced to perfect. He saw that the Ascending Dragon City's Ascending Dragon Guards had taken over the situation outside Millstone Town. Lin Yuan knew that Red Thorn's sea of flowers was no longer useful. Lin Yuan ordered Red Thorn to get rid of the child ramets and ramets produced by the spores ejected from the spore cavity. When Red Thorn heard Lin Yuan's order, it immediately waved its roots and let the child ramets and ramets provide all the energy to itself. A large number of normal child ramets and elite ramets instantly withered, and all the energy was transferred to Red Thorn's body through the connected root network. In front of the sea of flowers that had instantly withered, Red Thorn's plant shook violently. Red Thorn's plant was shaking violently, and Lin Yuan could clearly feel that Red Thorn was growing stronger than before. The mouth of Relinquish had become even larger, and the barbs on the vines had become even sharper and longer. At this time, Red Thorn's quality had already evolved from perfect to epic. Almost all the insectoid tide from the Pinnacle Class 1 dimensional rift had become sacrifices for Red Thorn's mouth of Relinquish. The frenzied gifts from the insectoid tide had caused Red Thorn's quality to transform. Baidu was the first to read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 149. Lin Yuan had been having a headache over the upgrade of Red Thorn's quality. He did not expect that this insect tide would actually solve this problem that had been troubling him for a long time. Since Bronze Red Thorn's quality had already reached epic, the only way to advance from epic to legendary was to devour the flesh and blood of dimensional creatures and work hard to accumulate. Although the passage of time was often untraceable, time could solve many problems by the passage of time. At that moment, Xianing suddenly whispered to Lin Yuan. The Ascending Dragon City's Ascending Dragon Guards are already in charge of the situation, and the Ascending Dragon Guards will be in charge of the Millstone Town's people. We should quickly slip away now. Otherwise, when the reporters from the Ascending Dragon City come to interview us, we won't be able to leave without a day or two. At this point, Xianing suddenly paused. Xianing didn't continue speaking because she knew she had made a slip of the tongue the moment she said it. To anyone, they had resisted a pinnacle level, 1 insect horde and protected a small town by themselves. If he were to accept an interview on the Star Web, he would undoubtedly become famous and receive widespread attention. Xianing did not care about this because she felt that it was unwise to protect Millstone Town in such a situation. But it was a glorious choice. From Xianing's point of view, if she wanted to be famous, she had to improve her strength and show off her skills in the S tournament. Although Xianing, who understood the ways of the world, had already recognized Lin Yuan as a friend in her heart, she was a little embarrassed that she seemed to be unintentionally making decisions for Lin Yuan. Zhang Xiaobai didn't think of that. At that moment, she carelessly hugged Lin Yuan's shoulder and said, "Don't worry." "Ha ha ha, that's right, let's go. If we don't leave now, we won't be able to." Xianing was just about to pull Zhang Xiaobai when she heard Lin Yuan's soft voice. "The endless forest is in front of us. Let's go. Our original plan was to collect the venom of the gold jade unicorn ice snake early in the morning." Lin Yuan's words were indifferent, but there was an indescribable refreshing and unrestrained feeling. Lin Yuan had never been a person who cared about fame and fortune. On the contrary, having lived 2 lifetimes, Lin Yuan looked at everything with a dialectical eye. Apart from the things that he truly cared about, everything else was very indifferent. Things like fame and fortune, in a world where strength reigns supreme. Although fame and fortune could not be equated with strength, having strength was almost equivalent to having fame and fortune. If strength was compared to a flower and fame was compared to a butterfly, then when the flower bloomed, the butterfly would naturally come. To Lin Yuan, the Radiance 100 sequence was his next best choice. Speaking with strength was the choice of a real man. Lin Yuan looked at the blazing sun that accompanied the dawn. The light emitted by the rising sun seemed to be even more dazzling than the scorching noon sun. At that moment, a slight spiritual fluctuation came from Lin Yuan's body. It was so subtle that even Zhang Xiaobai, who had put his hand on Lin Yuan's shoulder, did not feel it. At that moment, the mother of Bloodbath, which was lying on the Fei's storage box, moved slightly and felt its mouth sting even more. This kid is really lucky. He comprehended a willpower rune so quickly after sensing his own law rune. However, the mother of Bloodbath immediately thought about it. Lin Yuan already had a fantasy breed jasmine lily, so this willpower rune should be the second one. The mother of Bloodbath attributed the credit of Lin Yuan comprehending this willpower rune mainly to the moment when it became his path protector and let Lin Yuan feel its law rune energy. Of course, Lin Yuan's sudden comprehension of this willpower rune was indeed related to the mother of Bloodbath's law rune he had felt at that time. However, if the mother of Bloodbath knew that Lin Yuan had comprehended the fourth willpower rune, it would probably change its name to the mother of lemons out of jealousy. Lin Yuan's eyes seemed to rise with the clearest light of dawn, and this glowing willpower rune appeared in Lin Yuan's spiritual world. When he comprehended this willpower rune, Lin Yuan already had a preference. This willpower rune was very suitable for Chimey. Lin Yuan looked at the rising sun in the morning, and the face behind the mask suddenly revealed a smile that no one could see but was enough to overshadow the blazing sun. He was a youth. In his weak state, he had always been stepping on the dust. He staggered, stood, and ran. Whether it was struggling to survive at a low place or calmly at a high place. He had never forgotten the epiphany in his heart. At this moment, the dim light dispersed the last bit of dust in the broken footsteps. As for him, having lived 2 lives, he had always been unrestrained. When Xianing, Zhang Xiaobai, Lu Pinru, and Tan Ran heard his refreshing and carefree words, they could not help but smile. If they had a good impression of each other, they would become friends. They had experienced life and death together, and they were comrades in arms. In this kind of situation, if their interests were completely congenial, then they would be inseparable friends. Zhang Xiaobai gave Lin Yuan a thumbs up. Lin Yuan, you were so cool when you said that earlier. Upon seeing Zhang Xiaobai's comical movements with his fingers and his strange expression, Lin Yuan could not help but laugh. Is it cool? Perhaps. Actually, in Lin Yuan's heart, it was always the coolest to be his own people. Lin Pinru rolled his eyes at Zhang Xiaobai. Can you stop showing off the results of your Yen cram school? Xianing looked at Zhang Xiaobai and felt really helpless. After last year's tournament, there was a 1-month vacation. She had wanted to go on a vacation with the team. In the end, Zhang Xiaobai had actually signed up for the tutoring class, saying that he wanted to learn a specialty. Zhang Xiaobai felt aggrieved and pouted. Is it wrong to learn a specialty? Lin Yuan could not help but ask. Is there anyone who wants to learn a specialty? Zhang Xiaobai felt even more aggrieved as he blinked his eyes. My Yen got a certificate. Lin Yuan and the quartet quietly left the land under Millstone Town's city wall, which they had defended last night, and headed for the endless forest at dawn. In fact, what Lin Yuan and the quartet of Extreme Guild Club members did not know was that everyone present had already seen their departure. He had defended Millstone Town against the Pinnacle Class 1 insect tied alone and healed everyone at the most critical moment. Putting aside the fact that he was a prodigy and would definitely be in the center of everyone's eyes, just Lin Yuan's life-saving grace made it hard for the people who had experienced the massacre outside Millstone Town to look away from him. The moment Lin Yuan and the Extreme Guild Club's quartet left, the burly leader of the Ascending Dragon Guards, the Millstone Town's Guild Alliance branch president, and everyone in Millstone Town stood there quietly, sincerely watching the hero leave. This was the hero's choice. The hero had tried his best to persuade the fierce tide, but he had always retreated lightly and was unwilling to leave his name. The Millstone Towns Guild Alliance branch president felt that the morning sun was especially dazzling. It was unknown whether it was because of the glare of the morning sun or the agitation in his heart. 2 lines of hot tears flowed from his eyes as he softly said, "Outstanding young man." When the bald leader of the Ascending Dragon Guards heard the words of the Millstone Towns Guild Alliance branch president, he solemnly bowed in the direction where Lin Yuan and the others had left. This is more than just outstanding young man. This is Huey's spirit, Huey's backbone. Baidu immediately read the latest chapter of the Beast Evolution Merchant Claw bookstore for free. Chapter 150. The mountains and rivers were tranquil, and birds, beasts, fish, and insects were dormant. While walking in the endless forest, Lin Yuan felt that the air was especially fresh. This freshness didn't refer to the spirit qi content, but the fragrance of the grass, trees, and soil in the endless forest's air. At that moment, Lin Yuan found a thumb-sized dragonfly on a birch tree that was nearly 20 meters tall. This dragonfly's entire body was red, and its wings were a light green color. When Lin Yuan saw this dragonfly's appearance, he recognized that it should be a normal mist flame dragonfly that had just been born. The mist flame dragonfly was a fey with great potential but was very rare. Along the way, Lin Yuan had encountered plenty of normal and elite feys, and this mist flame dragonfly was the one with the best aptitude among all the feys that Lin Yuan had encountered so far. The fey's aptitude didn't refer to the fey's strength at its grade, but its evolution potential during the evolution process. The mist flame dragonfly was a wind-type and fire-type dual-type fey with extremely high evolution potential. It was considered one of the feys with stronger wind and fire energy after the spirituality mutation among the offense-type feys. Wind helped the fire, and wind had always been the best partner of fire. Upon seeing this mist flame dragonfly with extraordinary aptitude, Lin Yuan naturally wouldn't miss it. He carefully approached the mist flame dragonfly, and when his palm was still a distance away from it, Lin Yuan quickly circulated the spiritual power in his body to let the mist flame dragonfly feel the pure spiritual power from Lin Yuan's palm. The pure spirit qi that Lin Yuan released from his palm only stopped for a moment. The mist flame dragonfly sensed Lin Yuan's release of spirit qi and immediately flew toward him. At that moment, the mist flame dragonfly was already standing obediently on Lin Yuan's fingertip. It wasn't afraid of people at all and was gently flapping its wings as though it was begging Lin Yuan to release more spirit qi. This scene made the Extreme Guild Club's quartet dumbfounded. It wasn't that Xianing, Zhang Xiaobai, and the others had never seen other creation masters harvesting in the wild, but who could make a wild fey develop a favorable impression like Lin Yuan? Zhang Xiaobai suddenly muttered at that moment. Could it be that good looks can make feys feel close to me? If that's the case, then all the feys in the endless forest should be surrounding me now. Xianing couldn't help but hold her forehead with her hand. Although it felt good to beat Zhang Xiaobai, it was too tiring to keep beating him. So, Xianing took out a knuckle blade from her backpack and wore it on her hand. Zhang Xiaobai instantly became obedient. At that moment, Lin Yuan stored the normal mist flame dragonfly into the fey storage box. They continued on their way. After walking for a few hours, it was already noon. Lin Yuan had already harvested a few feys with greater potential. If these feys were properly nurtured, they could be nurtured into powerful feys that were hard to come by. At lunchtime, they sat on the ground and ate the dry rations prepared by Lu Pinru. Zhang Xiaobai said while chewing on his rations. If I had known earlier, I would have bought a few dozen skewers of kidney this morning. Eating kidney skewers at this time is really delicious. Xianing glared at Zhang Xiaobai and waved the knuckle blade on her hand. Zhang Xiaobai immediately changed his words. I'm talking about big kidneys so that I'll have more strength after eating them. Otherwise, how am I supposed to block in front of you and help you take damage? Lu Pinru could not help but roll her eyes at Zhang Xiaobai. You're just lusting after its body. Despicable. Zhang Xiaobai was unwilling. Is it because your kidneys aren't fat enough? Or was the taste of the kidney not good enough? What's wrong with me lusting after her body? Lin Yuan was eating his rations. When he had entered the endless forest, he had already taken off his mask. When Lin Yuan saw that everyone was almost done eating, he flipped his hand. He took out the fruits that he had stored in the leaf-shaped face storage box and distributed them to everyone. When Zhang Xiaobai saw the fruit, he hurriedly threw the dry food in his hand to the side and gnawed on the fruit. Zhang Xiaobai felt the sweet and sour fruit pulp in his mouth. So high. He had reached the peak of his life. When adventuring in the wild, having a creation master in the team would greatly reduce the probability of wild phase attacking. Lin Yuan and the Extreme Guild Club's quartet had also been attacked a few times. However, with Xian Ying and Tan Ran attacking, Zhang Xiaobai defending, Lu Pinru assisting, and Lin Yuan healing, the battle quickly ended. At the same time, Lin Yuan and the Extreme Guild Club's quartet had also obtained plenty of fresh spiritual ingredients. Zhang Xiaobai walked in the endless forest and suddenly had an idea. He looked at everyone and asked mysteriously. A woman giving birth is an idiom. Xian Ying, Lu Pinru, and Tan Ran couldn't be bothered with Zhang Xiaobai. Zhang Xiaobai hurriedly turned his head to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan looked at Zhang Xiaobai's expectant gaze and pondered for a moment. Unbearably painful. Zhang Xiaobai seemed to be waiting for Lin Yuan to say this answer as he laughed heartily. You're slandering me. Lin Yuan revealed a pretty boy's puzzled expression. Lin Yuan didn't have many friends in this life, and he hadn't had many opportunities to make friends in order to survive in the past. Lin Yuan had always felt that he was a person whose friendship with a gentleman was as indifferent as water. However, after getting along with Zhang Xiaobai, Lin Yuan felt that this kind of nonsensical style was exceptionally interesting. Lin Yuan and the Extreme Guild Club's quartet collected the Jade Unicorn Ice Snake's venom without much difficulty. At the same time, Lin Yuan also found a few small fish in the cold pool where the Jade Unicorn Ice Snake resided. Upon seeing these small fish, Lin Yuan recognized their species at a glance. Lin Yuan didn't expect such good things to appear in such a place. He planned to bring these small fish back and slowly nurture them. Lin Yuan hurriedly placed these small fish in a container filled with pool water and carefully stored them in the diamond face storage box. At that moment, Lin Yuan's wild harvest was considered to have officially ended. Lin Yuan might not have harvested a lot of fays this time, but each of them was considered to be of excellent quality. There were also 3 small fish that he had found in the cold pool at the end. These 3 small fish were truly top-notch. On the way back, Lin Yuan didn't go back to the royal capital with the quartet. Before returning to the royal capital, Lin Yuan planned to go to Redbud City's Redbud Intermediate Spirit Chi Academy to see Chu Ci. At the same time, he wanted to give the normal dust powder butterfly that had hatched from the cocoon to the bronze Vidra butterfly as Chu Ci's second fay to form a contract. The silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar that Lin Yuan had left behind for Chu Ci was still with him. Lin Yuan planned to bring it along for Chu Ci to consume. Such a treasure could improve the physique and wash away impurities. The earlier Chu Ci used it, the better. Lin Yuan exchanged contact information with the Extreme Guild Club's quartet and arranged to have a small gathering after returning to the royal capital. After arriving at Ascending Dragon City, Lin Yuan and the quartet parted ways. Then, Lin Yuan spent a large number of radiance dollars to order a platinum flying fay, Divine Travel Black Swallow. The Divine Travel Black Swallow had the fastest flying speed among all the official flying fays in the Radiance Federation, and it was worthy of the name Divine Travel. Lin Yuan had ordered this Divine Travel Black Swallow because the distance between Ascending Dragon City and Redbud City was simply too far. At that time, Ling Zhao's fantasy breed Blue Jade Pegasus had taken a few days to fly from Redbud City to the royal capital. If Lin Yuan were to fly from Ascending Dragon City to Redbud City on a silver fay, Chu Ci's 2-month semester would have already ended by the time he arrived. When Lin Yuan was on the back of this platinum Divine Travel Black Swallow, he did not know that his identity, Black, was already famous on Star Web. Although Lin Yuan did not accept the Star Web reporter's interview, every Spirit Chi professional in Millstone Town was a witness to Black. As the people outside Millstone Town described Black's image and abilities, the star web reporters that rushed over gradually had some clues. Previously, no one had thought that Black's Fae was a fantasy breed. After all, a silver fantasy breed was simply too shocking. However, after the star web reporters contacted a 3-star scholar to research it. In addition, the people in Millstone Town had described in detail that Black Silver Healing type Fae could regrow severed limbs. In the end, it was confirmed that Black's Healing type Fae was a silver fantasy breed. The Radiance Federation was a nation that worshipped heroes, so Lin Yuan's identity, Black, immediately became popular on Star Web. He even had a dedicated Star Web Tiaba and Star Web fan group on Star Web. Black Star Web forum and fan group were actually created by the Bronze Spirit Chi professional who owned the Spitting Turtle Dove. Moreover, almost everyone in Millstone Town, including the president of the Guild Alliance branch, had joined Black Star Web forum and fan group. There were also many people who came because of Black's deeds, causing Black Star Web forum and fan group to grow day by day. Of course, there were also many haters among them. At that moment, Lu Lang, the healing-type spirit chi professional who owned the Spitting Turtle Dove, was furiously replying to the post on Star Web. Lu Lang was truly infuriated when someone scolded his life idol and savior, Black. How can you casually scold a genius hero like Black? Lu Lang could not help but curse. These haters are really annoying. They swallow their anger in reality and don't dare to insult others, enduring humiliation for the greater good. But on Star Web, casually scolding netizens, and in high spirits. Don't blame me, Lu Lang, for being impolite to such haters. Lu Lang read with a solemn expression. The heavens didn't give birth to a keyboard warrior. Spewing like a long night for eternity. The pinnacle of immortals, looking down on the world. With my keyboard, there will be heaven. I will suppress all enemies for the keyboard emperor. Who dares to call themselves invincible in the world? Who dares to say he is undefeatable? The key transforms into my heart. The big board key comes from the heavens. The rushing flow key never returns. When the yin and yang reversal arrives, I will use my magic key to clear the heavens. Great creation key. Key comes. From then on, Lu Lang's Star Web name was Zuan. Under Lu Lang's crazy operation, the Star Web name Zuan also became popular, and countless Star Web netizens called him Zuan Maniac. Baidu read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 151. Lin Yuan sat on the Divine Travel Black Swallow's back and couldn't help but complain. It was fine if the Divine Travel Black Swallow wasn't comfortable, but it was also uncomfortable. The Divine Travel Black Swallow was rather small and very light. Most of its long feathers were concentrated on its wings, and there was only a thin layer of feathers on its back. In fact, the reason why the Divine Travel Black Swallow wasn't comfortable was because of its fast speed. There were many types of flying fays that could be booked in the Radiance Federation. The Divine Travel Black Swallow might not be comfortable, but it was definitely the most popular flying fay. The distance between the Radiance Federation's major cities was too far, and it could save some travel time. Therefore, the discomfort could be ignored. When Lin Yuan had booked the Divine Travel Black Swallow on Star Web, he had also looked at other platinum flying fays that could be booked. Among them, the most expensive and comfortable flying fae was the Orchid Fragrant Swan. The Orchid Fragrant Swan's demeanor was extremely elegant. Its slender goose neck and spacious back wings gave it a very elegant feeling. Its body was covered with goose yellow feathers with a hint of pink, and it was filled with a kind of romantic flavor. The Orchid Fragrant Swan's body was accompanied by many goose feather orchids, and they smelled very good. The goose language orchid's fragrance was a faint orchid fragrance with a sweet fruit fragrance. When smelling it, it gave off a kind of elegant and sweet feeling. At the same time, the goose language orchid was also a kind of extremely valuable platinum spiritual ingredient. It was the main fragrance of a high-end perfume that was widely loved by female spirit chi professionals. Furthermore, the Orchid Fragrant Swan's pink feathers were extremely silky, and it felt as though one was sliding one's hand into a large piece of silk. The platinum orchid fragrance swan was very comfortable and elegant, but no matter how rich spirit chi professionals were, they wouldn't ride on the orchid fragrance swan. The orchid fragrance swan's flying speed was simply too slow, and it couldn't even compare to some silver fays that were adept at flying. Therefore, the orchid fragrance swan was the best choice for spirit chi professionals with rich family backgrounds to go on their honeymoon after they got married. If someone really rode on the orchid fragrance swan to settle some urgent matters, it would be too late by the time the orchid fragrance swan arrived. Lin Yuan sat on the divine travel black swallow's back and straightened his body. Since it would take a few days to travel from Ascending Dragon City to Redbud City, Lin Yuan checked the thumb-sized, translucent, egg-shaped source-type life form that the mother of Bloodbath thought it was lucky to have obtained from the Pinnacle Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift. With a wave of his hand, he took out the leaf-shaped diamond phase storage box. As a result, Lin Yuan used true data to check and realize that this Pinnacle Class 1 dimensional rift's prototype life form was really an insect egg. However, when Lin Yuan used true data to check this prototype insect egg, he felt something strange. He finally understood why the mother of Bloodbath had said that this insect egg was very suitable for Red Thorn and that it had picked up a huge bargain. Inside this translucent egg was an acid corrosion queen bee that was still in the form of an egg. As a source-type life form, the acid corrosion queen bee's contract conditions were undoubtedly very harsh. The acid corrosion queen bee was a kind of parasitic source-type life form and needed to parasitize other phase or source-type life forms to survive. At the same time, the body of the parasitized Fey or source-type life form must have an extremely acidic environment because only such an environment could allow the acid corrosion queen bee to grow healthily. The acid corrosion queen bee usually had to eat a large amount of acid from the parasitized Fey or source-type life form as a source of nutrition to maintain its life. Therefore, there were not many suitable phase or source-type life forms for the acid corrosion queen bee to parasitize. After breaking out of the egg, the acid corrosion queen bee would immediately build a nest in its own acidic environment. During the process of building the nest, the acid corrosion queen bee would absorb a large amount of acid and energy from the host body. After building the nest, the acid corrosion queen bee would sign a contract with the host Fey or source-type life form. After signing the contract, the acid corrosion queen bee would protect the host Fey or source-type life form. It would worship the host Fey or source-type life form as the only god in its world. The acid corrosion queen bee would completely listen to all the instructions of the host Fey or source-type life form. Lin Yuan couldn't help but be speechless. This acid corrosion queen bee and Red Thorn were really a perfect match. Most source-type life forms and Feys would generally only have a strong acidic environment at the place of digestion. If the acid corrosion queen bee wanted to build a nest, then small source-type life forms and Feys would have to be eliminated. But even so, animal Feys and source-type life forms with strong acidic bodies were undoubtedly not suitable for the acid corrosion queen bee. Be it Feys or source-type life forms, if the acid corrosion queen bee built a nest in the stomach. The stomach was the digestive system and the foundation for animal Feys and source-type life forms to absorb energy. If the acid corrosion queen bee absorbed a large amount of acid and energy in the stomach, the animal Feys and source-type life forms' roots would probably be damaged in a few days. But Red Thorn was different, as it almost perfectly matched the acid corrosion queen bee's conditions. When Red Thorn's mouth of relinquish evolved to the bronze/epic quality, it had already become a flesh furnace. A large amount of alien insect flesh could be easily digested and devoured, and Red Thorn's digestive fluid had devoured the acid in the acid corrosion tapeworm's body. Although he did not dare to say that Red Thorn's acid was definitely stronger than the acid corrosion tapeworm's, it was already to the extent that it could corrode sand. Such a powerful acid could help the acid corrosion queen bee's growth. Moreover, the acid corrosion queen bee needed a large amount of energy and acid to build a nest, so it wasn't a problem for Red Thorn. Red Thorn's mouth of relinquish carried an extremely strong digestive ability, and the dozen or so digestive cavities on its ortet were mainly used to store excess acid. If the mouth of relinquish needed to replenish acid, the digestive cavities would flow the stored acid back into the mouth of relinquish. However, Red Thorn devoured a large amount of alien insects' flesh and energy every day. The alien insect's blood contained a lot of acid, so Red Thorn's digestive fluid was a little too abundant. With such abundant digestive fluid, the digestive cavities always needed to spit out a large amount of acid. Now, red thorn only needed to give the acid corrosion queen bee a digestive cavity on its ortet. If the acid corrosion queen bee needed energy, red thorn could devour more dimensional lifeforms' flesh to cope. To Lin Yuan, the acid corrosion queen bee's advantage was that he didn't need to use his remaining trace of spiritual energy to sign a contract. As a parasitic life form in red thorn's body, the acid corrosion queen bee would sign a contract with red thorn, so it could command the acid corrosion queen bee at will. As a source seed that was connected to Lin Yuan by blood, there was no difference between red thorn commanding the acid corrosion queen bee and Lin Yuan commanding the acid corrosion queen bee himself. However, due to this parasitic relationship, the acid corrosion queen bee had not signed a contract with Lin Yuan, so he couldn't provide the acid corrosion queen bee with a willpower rune. If the acid corrosion queen bee wanted to evolve into a fantasy breed, it could only take the path of a wild fae reaching the pinnacle of diamond and legend before comprehending the willpower rune on its own. Fortunately, the acid corrosion queen bee wasn't like red thorn, which couldn't be enhanced by Lin Yuan, so it wasn't difficult for it to reach legend. As for whether the acid corrosion queen bee could comprehend the willpower rune and become a fantasy breed, it would depend on the acid corrosion queen bee's talent. Read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 152. As fays that grew freely in the wild, the most difficult thing was to improve their quality. In fact, there were many fays that grew freely in the wild. Even if they reached platinum, they would only be at elite. When they reached diamond, they would only be at flawless. It took a long time for wild fays to improve their quality or encounter great opportunities. This was why creation masters could use all kinds of spiritual ingredients to concoct spirit liquids to attract wild fays. This was because the spirit fluid that was concocted with various spiritual ingredients contained pure spirit qi. Pure spirit qi was something that wild fays yearned for. After all, there was no life form that did not want to evolve and improve its quality. This instinct to continuously evolve was the cornerstone of the grand poem of life in the history of life, the evolution of species, and the formation of thousands of life. This instinct for evolution had long been engraved in the depths of every fae's soul since birth. Therefore, creation masters who possessed evolved faes to upgrade their fae's grade and quality would receive preferential treatment from wild faes. Although the acid corrosion queen bee was a source-type life form, it could not be said to be a true fae. However, the acid corrosion queen bee was destined to embark on this difficult path. Fortunately, this difficulty could be easily resolved due to Lin Yuan's existence. When the acid corrosion queen bee reached bronze, it could be upgraded to legend with Lin Yuan's help. As for the acid corrosion queen bee's grade, with the increase of Lin Yuan's spirit qi rank and creation master ability, it was only a matter of time before it reached pinnacle diamond. Therefore, there was only one thing that was really difficult for the acid corrosion queen bee: how to comprehend the willpower rune. Lin Yuan was actually happy to see such a situation for the acid corrosion queen bee. The acid corrosion queen bee did not need to fuse with a willpower rune at bronze to evolve into a fantasy breed like Lin Yuan's other fays in order to maximize their potential. Therefore, Lin Yuan could constantly upgrade the acid corrosion queen bee without any scruples. Moreover, the acid corrosion queen bee had not evolved into a fantasy breed, so it was very easy for Lin Yuan to upgrade it. This would undoubtedly make up for Lin Yuan's current lack of high-grade combat power. Given Lin Yuan's current standard as a C-rank spirit qi professional, it was not difficult to rely on his ability to enhance the source-type acid corrosion queen bee to gold. The gold/legend source-type acid corrosion queen bee was not much inferior to some pinnacle gold fays that had yet to reach legend. The gold/legend source-type acid corrosion queen bee had given him the qualifications to fight for the Radiance 100 sequence. It allowed him to have the combat power to become one of the Radiance Federation's top youths. To Red Thorn, the acid corrosion queen bee was more like a tool for Red Thorn. Red Thorn only needed to provide a digestive cavity for the acid corrosion queen bee, and the acid corrosion queen bee would treat Red Thorn as its god and serve it. Strong acidic digestive fluids and energy were nothing to Red Thorn. The leaf-shaped phase storage box that the Moon Empress had given him had enough dimensional lifeforms flesh to feed Red Thorn to platinum. The energy required to feed the acid corrosion queen bee with the flesh of these dimensional lifeforms was just a drop in the ocean compared to the energy contained in the leaf-shaped diamond phase storage box. Red Thorn's biggest problem in battle was that Red Thorn was adept at quickly starting a battle of attrition. It was an extremely powerful AoE attack method. The gold acid corrosion queen bee perfectly made up for Red Thorn's lack of single-target lethality. Red Thorn's vines could lethality and control at the same time, which undoubtedly gave the acid corrosion queen bee more opportunities to attack. With the acid corrosion queen bee cooperating with Red Thorn and complementing its single-target combat power, Red Thorn no longer had an obvious shortcoming. At that moment, Red Thorn was truly considered a truly terrifying killing machine. The sea of flowers spread out, and a powerful source-type life form was hidden in the sea of vines. The acid corrosion queen bee. The acid corrosion queen bee could perfectly cooperate with Red Thorn to carry out sneak attacks on some powerful single-target enemies and kill them. Lin Yuan put the acid corrosion queen bee's egg back into the diamond phase storage box. It was undoubtedly not suitable to summon Red Thorn on the divine travel black swallow's back, so the acid corrosion queen bee's egg could not hatch. Lin Yuan originally just wanted to go to the endless forest for a simple wild harvest. However, along the way, he met Zhang Xiaobai, Xin Ying, Lu Pinru, and Tan Ran. After experiencing the battle at Millstone Town, he had no choice. At the same time, Lin Yuan also comprehended a twilight willpower rune in the rising sun after the battle. He also harvested a lot of fays with great potential in the wild. The harvest along the way was really great. If he did not have to see Chu Ci now, Lin Yuan would have the intention to enter seclusion. Lin Yuan would probably need to enter seclusion for another month or two before he could completely transform these gains into strength. Chimey had already reached bronze/legend, but due to the lack of a suitable willpower rune, Chimey's grade had been stuck. Now that Chimey finally had a suitable twilight willpower rune, it was imperative for it to evolve into a fantasy breed. Lin Yuan could not help but look forward to what kind of changes Chimey would undergo after fusing with a twilight willpower rune to evolve into a fantasy breed. What kind of exclusive skill would Chimey awaken from this twilight willpower rune? A phase evolution into a fantasy breed had to go through a rebirth. Just by looking at the jasmine lily's evolution into a fantasy breed, one could know what kind of improvement it would have for a fae. Now, Lin Yuan finally understood why so many experts like to enter seclusion. It was because seclusion could allow one to calm down in a relatively undisturbed environment. It could strengthen what one needed to be strong and tidy up what one needed to tidy up. At the same time, it could also clarify the path to take next in seclusion. Lin Yuan had been sitting on the divine travel black swallow's back for the past few days. Overlooking the mountains and rivers under the radiance, he only felt that the mountains and rivers were majestic. The battle at Millstone Town had really made Lin Yuan's heart beat too hard. These few days of relaxation had made Lin Yuan feel refreshed. The divine travel black swallow sent Lin Yuan into Redbud City. After seeing that Lin Yuan had confirmed the order on Star Web, the divine travel black swallow flew away. This trip on the Platinum Divine Travel Black Swallow had cost a total of 3 Radiance dollars. This made Lin Yuan involuntarily have the idea of nurturing a flying fae for transportation. In the Radiance Federation, private flying fays could be nurtured. Ordinary spirit chi professionals needed to sign a contract with the flying fae before they could be registered in the Radiance Federation. Only these flying fays that were registered in the Radiance Federation could apply for a driving certificate. However, there was an exception, and that was Creation Masters. Creation Masters could directly apply for a Flying Fae driving certificate in the Creation Master Association. Creation Masters could apply for a driving certificate without signing a contract with the Fae. However, the prerequisite was that the Creation Master Association had to prove that the Flying Fae was nurtured by the Creation Master himself. In fact, the Radiance Federation was so strict in this aspect because they were afraid that the Flying Fae would lose control during flight and cause some accidents. There were all sorts of flying fays that could be ridden by private people, and their grades were generally not low. Such flying fays that lost control would be extremely destructive. If the flying fay lost control, it would just injure the pilot. If the flying fay lost control and injured other innocent people, it would cause a lot of unnecessary disputes. Baidu, read the latest chapter of the Imperial Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 153. In fact, flying type fays were rather expensive in the Radiance Federation. Especially the rare flying type fays that could be ridden. In the Radiance Federation, flying type fays that could be ridden weren't just used as a means of transportation. They were also treated as luxurious goods to show off one's status. Lin Yuan walked on the streets of Redbud City and looked at the flourishing Redbud City. Lin Yuan realized that he had a special fate with Redbud City. Every time he came to Redbud City, his state of mind would be different. The first time he came to Redbud City was when he was in a hurry to deliver the bronze rhinoceros iron bull to Chu Ci. At that time, Lin Yuan had just recovered his ability to sense spirit qi and discovered his creation master abilities. At that time, Lin Yuan had a boundless longing for the future. In Lin Yuan's opinion, he had already set up a new life goal. The second time he came, Lin Yuan had skipped a grade and passed the Creation Master exam, becoming a Class 2 Creation Master. At that moment, Lin Yuan already had the confidence that his path was under his feet. This was also Lin Yuan's third time coming to Redbud City. After experiencing life and death battles, he had a clear view of this world. Lin Yuan had already determined the path he wanted to take in the future. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly heard a hawking voice. Cornbread, $1 for 4. Lin Yuan couldn't help but reveal a bright smile. During his 3 visits, he would see this stall selling cornbread. It was truly fate. Lin Yuan walked up and spent $1 Federation to buy 4 cornbread buns. Lin Yuan picked up a cornbread and bit into it. After eating meals made with high-grade spiritual ingredients in the Radiant Moon Palace for a few months, Lin Yuan realized that his mouth was much more picky than before. A few months ago, he felt that the cornbread was rather delicious, but now, it was a little hard to swallow. When he swallowed this cornbread that was a little hard to swallow, Lin Yuan felt that it should be changed to thinking of sweetness. In Lin Yuan's opinion, his previous strong self was sweet. Because the silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar had washed away all the impurities in his body, Lin Yuan had perfected his genetic model. After washing away all the impurities in his body, Lin Yuan's originally excellent temperament had become even more extraordinary. After washing away all the impurities, Lin Yuan's originally excellent temperament had become even more extraordinary. His bright youthful aura had an indescribable carefreeness that attracted many people's gazes along the way. Previously, Lin Yuan's pearl shone faintly. However, now that he was back at the same place, he was already unparalleled in the world. Before going to the Redbud Intermediate Spirit Chi Academy, where Chu Ci was, he specially went to the store to buy some fruits. Among these fresh fruits, Lin Yuan had also added some that were unique to Ascending Dragon City's Millstone Town. Fruits that couldn't be bought in Redbud City. Lin Yuan had brought these fruits to Teacher Bao. Whether it was those who had helped him or Chu Ci when he had been weak, he would remember them in his heart as long as he knew about them. When he arrived at the entrance of the Redbud Intermediate Spirit Chi Academy, he called Chu Ci. The call was quickly picked up by Chu Ci. Lin Yuan, why are you calling me at this time? I just finished training. You don't know how strong this sharp iron horn bull is. Even those seniors can't beat me. When Chu Ci saw that Lin Yuan was calling her, she started talking. However, Lin Yuan could not help but touch the back of his head. Lin Yuan had a question. Was Chu Ci done for? I'm a defense-type spirit chi professional. Chu Ci was simply using the sharp iron horn bull as an offense-type fey. She was actually competing with a senior during the training session. What if she was injured by the senior? Even if Lin Yuan had a free and easy temperament, he could not help but worry about his only blood relative in this world. When Chu Ci saw that Lin Yuan did not say anything, she immediately knew what the problem was. I'm not trying to improve myself as quickly as possible. Brother, you're already a creation master. If I don't work hard, won't I be left further and further behind by you? When Lin Yuan heard Chu Ci call him brother, he immediately knew that things were not so simple. Chu Ci should have been injured in training. Otherwise, based on their many years of experience of relying on each other, Chu Ci would usually call him brother. Chu Ci usually called him Lin Yuan, but whenever she called him big brother, nothing good would happen. Lin Yuan said hurriedly. Where are you? I'll go over to find you. On the other end of the line, Chu Ci was delighted at first. Then, she glanced at the teacher who was treating her and could not help but stick out her tongue. At that moment, the teacher who was treating Chu Ci spoke. Chu Ci, the bones in your arm are cracked. My Fei can only treat superficial injuries. You need to recuperate on your own. When the medical teacher opened his mouth, Chu Ci wanted to cover the phone, but Lin Yuan still heard the words fractured bones. Chu Ci could not help but feel guilty. Every time Lin Yuan called her, he would always tell her to be careful, and she would always tell him not to worry. However, it seemed that she had been caught. Chu Ci trained very hard. When she had nothing to do, she would train her combat skills with her seniors on the training ground. However, the teacher would treat her every time. This was the first time she had a fractured bone. Brother, wait for me. I'll pick you up now, but you may have to accompany me to buy some spiritual ingredients to treat bone injuries. Chu Ci glanced at her arm, which was hanging down and did not dare to use force. She knew that such an injury could not be concealed even if she wanted to. Lin Yuan now had a headache. Chu Ci had been a steady person since she was young. Why did she also become reckless after having the sharp iron horn bull, a defense-type Fei that relied on brute defense? Lin Yuan had always wanted to turn Chu Ci into an iron bucket that no one could break, but he had put it aside. Now, Lin Yuan felt that it was necessary to revive this idea. In order to prevent Chu Ci from getting injured again, it was imperative to turn her into an iron bucket. The cocoon of the powder butterfly in Lin Yuan's spirit lock spatial zone had already hatched. The normal powder butterfly inside had also been transformed into a bronze Vajra butterfly. Before the powder butterfly evolved into the Vajra butterfly, Lin Yuan had already raised the elite powder butterfly's quality to epic. Therefore, the bronze Vajra butterfly had 3 exclusive skills to choose from. 2 of these 3 exclusive skills were not considered good, so Lin Yuan gave up on them. The appearance of the 3rd exclusive skill, counterattack tremor, made Lin Yuan overjoyed. This exclusive skill could allow Chu Ci to defend against the opponent's attack while reflecting a portion of the damage caused by the opponent's attack back in the form of energy tremor. The Vajra butterfly's elite ability, Vajra Shield, would allow the Vajra butterfly to fly around the target and condense a solid, transparent Vajra shield on the target. This was the prototype of an iron bucket in Lin Yuan's mind. The Vajra butterfly's exclusive skill, counterattack tremor, allowed Chu Ci to have a certain counterattack method while strengthening her defense. In Lin Yuan's opinion, this was the choice that a defense-type spirit chi professional should make. Compared to the Vajra butterfly, the sharp iron horn bull was simply a fake defense-type Fei. The Vajra butterfly was a Fei that Lin Yuan and Chu Ci had discussed and chosen after a lot of choices. If the Vajra butterfly was properly nurtured, it could evolve into a jadeite butterfly at gold. The jadeite butterfly had the reputation of being the best among gold defense-type Feis. This meant that the shield released by the jadeite butterfly was recognized as the best among gold defense-type Feis in terms of hardness. However, to nurture the Vajra butterfly into a jadeite butterfly required a lot of resources and extremely pure spirit chi. Now that Lin Yuan had the radiance dollars in Jianghu's beetle-shaped diamond Fei storage box, he naturally did not need to worry about a lot of resources. Other creation masters might not be able to produce extremely pure spirit chi, but for Lin Yuan, it was just circulating the spiritual power in his body. It was extremely simple. Therefore, Lin Yuan was confident that he could evolve Chu Ci's Vajra butterfly into a jadeite butterfly at gold. As for the jadeite butterfly's evolution into the legendary Tourmaline Emperor butterfly, he would have to start from memory. At that moment, Lin Yuan could not help but set up a plan to nurture his younger sister into an iron bucket. stack the thickest armor. Even if you get the most vicious beating. Even if you get the most severe beating. You will not get hurt at all. This is what a mature brother should do. The Redbud Intermediate Spirit Chi Academy was currently in class, so there were not many people at the school entrance. At that moment, a young girl's nervous little head appeared at the Redbud Intermediate Spirit Chi Academy's school entrance. When the young girl saw the sunny youth standing at the school entrance, she immediately beamed with joy and was about to rush up when she suddenly thought of something. She hurriedly revealed a pitiful smile and said sweetly, "Big brother, I missed you after not seeing you for so long. Bro, I missed you after not seeing you for so long." Biyao was reading the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Bookhouse for free. Chapter 154. Lin Yuan had been a little angry at first. Chu Ci, a defense-type spirit chi professional, had actually fought with a senior and injured herself, causing her arm to fracture due to the battle injury. If she wanted to practice combat skills, she could have gone to Star Web and climbed the tower to fight. Lin Yuan had not seen Chu Ci for a few months, and the longing he had suppressed in his heart had completely erupted at this moment. Especially when he had been attacked by Jianghu at the moment of life and death, he had only thought of Chu Ci, his only family. The responsibility of being an elder brother made Lin Yuan afraid that if he really died, Chu Ci would have no one to rely on. Lin Yuan looked at Chu Ci's pitiful face and sweetly called him elder brother. When he looked at Chu Ci's big, round eyes, Lin Yuan knew that she was using the trick that worked every time. However, Lin Yuan really could not do anything about Chu Ci like this. All the anger in his heart because of worry had dissipated. Even if Lin Yuan was a free and easy person, when facing his only family member, Chu Ci, he would still inevitably have double standards. If a defense-type spirit chi professional like Chu Ci fought with a senior and worked hard to improve her combat skills, Lin Yuan would definitely immediately give her a thumbs up and praise her. After all, Star Web combat skills were not as solid as actual combat skills. This was also why the school's actual combat classes were not on Star Web. Even if she was injured, in Lin Yuan's opinion, since it was a real combat, how could she not be injured? However, when it was Chu Ci who was injured, Lin Yuan did not think so. When Chu Ci walked over, her hand was hanging there, and she was frowning because of the pain of walking. Lin Yuan immediately felt distressed and immediately activated the Silver/Fantasy Jasmine Lily's ability, Heal. A green light filled with vitality went toward Chu Ci's injured left arm. As the green light flowed, Chu Ci felt as if her arm was surrounded by an indescribable comfort. In less than a moment, Chu Ci realized that her arm was no longer in pain. She tried to move her arm and said in surprise, "Lin Yuan, when did you become a healing-type spirit chi professional?" Lin Yuan, when did you become a healing-type spirit chi professional? Chu Ci had only known that Lin Yuan had the talent to become a creation master, but she did not expect him to also be a healing-type spirit chi professional. Chu Ci hurriedly trotted to Lin Yuan's side and happily took a closer look at Lin Yuan's healing hand. When Chu Ci was studying at school, the person she missed the most was undoubtedly Lin Yuan. Ever since she knew that Lin Yuan's body had recovered, she could finally put her worries to rest. As for whether Lin Yuan was a creation master or a spirit chi professional, Chu Ci would naturally be happy for him. However, what she valued the most was still his health. Just like how he was worried about Chu Ci getting hurt. In her heart, he was a giant who had always shielded her from the wind and rain in her life. The word "big brother" would forever be the most sacred and powerful word in her heart. She only had a faint impression of her parents. After all, she had been too young when her parents had gone to resist the dimensional rift and never returned. Therefore, in her life, it had always been her elder brother, Lin Yuan. Even when his body was weak, he still managed the face door. No matter how hard it was, he gritted his teeth and supported his family to send him to school. Now, as long as something good happened to him, she would be happier than if something good happened to her. This kind of brother-sister relationship, which had depended on each other for more than 10 years, could not be expressed in words. Although it was already late autumn in Redbud City, it was still hot and humid. However, the wind wasn't weak. The autumn wind scattered a strand of her hair, causing one of her ahog to stand on end. He hurriedly brushed away the raised ahog on her head with his hand and pressed it down. Chu Si's hair had been rather hard since she was young. Every autumn, when the wind blew, the ahog on her head would stand up. Every time Lin Yuan saw her, he would skillfully press down the ahog on her head. "Are there any classes that haven't finished today?" Chu Si said after some thought. "There was an actual combat class in the afternoon, but my arm was injured, so I should be resting in the dormitory," Lin Yuan said as he handed the fruit in his hand to Chu Si. "Then I'll accompany you to ask for leave from Teacher Bao." Chu Si could rest in the dormitory in the afternoon due to her arm injury and didn't have to participate in the actual combat class. But now that Chu Si's arm had recovered, he still had to inform Chu Si's form teacher. After all, in Lin Yuan's opinion, he still had to abide by the school's rules and regulations. It just so happened that Lin Yuan was about to send the fruit to Teacher Bao. Along the way to Teacher Bao's office, he knocked on the door and entered. He saw Teacher Bao sitting at the table and writing something. When Lin Yuan took a closer look, he realized that the thick book was actually a lesson plan. Teacher Bao was a teacher of Fey observation, and he taught theoretical knowledge. When Lin Yuan saw the thick lesson plan that Teacher Bao was writing, he knew that Teacher Bao had put in a lot of effort to make it easier for the students he taught to understand Feis. When Teacher Bao saw Lin Yuan beside Chu Si, he was obviously stunned for a moment. After taking a closer look, he confirmed Lin Yuan's identity. Chu Si and Lin Yuan had been together for more than 10 years. No matter how one looked at it, they were the closest people. Although Lin Yuan's temperament had undergone a great change, Chu Si didn't feel any difference. This was because in Chu Si's heart, Lin Yuan was the best in every aspect. However, Teacher Bao had only met Lin Yuan twice. Now that he saw Lin Yuan again, he didn't dare to recognize him. This youth in front of him was sunny, handsome, and had an outstanding temperament. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was extremely romantic. However, after confirming Lin Yuan's identity, he nodded and looked at Chu Si's hand. "Student Chu Si's talent is very good. Last week, she became a C-rank spirit chi professional. However, the bones in her hand have suffered a rather serious injury. It will take 100 days for the injured tendons and bones to recover. Your parents must pay attention to it. If you can prepare some spiritual ingredients that can promote bone healing and cooperate with the school doctor's treatment, the recovery speed can be increased." Teacher Bao spoke very seriously. If Chu Si's hand could recover earlier, she could also train as soon as possible so that it wouldn't be a waste of Chu Si's excellent talent. For spirit chi professionals, it was very important to build a good foundation when they were young. Chu Si raised her hand and smiled at Teacher Bao. "Teacher Bao, my hand has been healed by my brother." Chu Si didn't think much of it, but when Teacher Bao heard it, he couldn't help but look at Lin Yuan in surprise. Teacher Bao didn't expect Lin Yuan to not only be a healing-type spirit chi professional, but his healing ability was also so strong that he could heal bone injuries. Teacher Bao had a very serious personality, but when he saw that Chu Si's hand had recovered, he couldn't help but smile. The smile on Teacher Bao's wrinkled face made his stern face look a little benevolent. When Lin Yuan told Teacher Bao the reason for his visit, Teacher Bao waved his hand and approved Chu Si's leave. Before leaving, Lin Yuan asked Chu Si to place the fruit on Teacher Bao's desk. Before Lin Yuan could say anything, Teacher Bao picked up the fruit and handed it back. "As a parent, why did you buy fruit when you came to pick up student Chu Si? Take it away. I have to write my lesson plan." After saying that, Teacher Bao leaned over the desk and continued to write his lesson plan. Lin Yuan didn't say that he was going to leave the fruit for Teacher Bao again. Instead, he left the office with Chu Si. In this world, there were always some people who were the most respectable. They taught and educated without asking for anything in return. Their white hair reflected the sun and moon, and their loyal hearts nourished new flowers. Perhaps Teacher Bao had long forgotten about the help he had given Chu Si. Teacher Bao wasn't strong and was just an ordinary person among the masses. However, What he did was like a jade pot with a heart of ice that shone with a great light. Read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 155. They were now on the Redbud Intermediate Spirit Chi Academy's campus and were about to leave. It was the end of class, and the campus was filled with laughter and noise. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly heard the two students beside him and Chu Ci speak. "What's the loneliest phrase you've ever heard?" Another student said without thinking. "Student, you're the only one who hasn't handed in your homework." Then he asked, "Do you know what extreme sports are?" The student who asked the question before was obviously an expert as he replied without hesitation. "When the teacher collects homework, you copy other people's homework to make up for your own." When Lin Yuan heard that, he couldn't help but raise his brows. These two students were really clever. Fortunately, Chu Ci never had to worry about her studies. Chu Ci walked beside Lin Yuan with a smile on her face. It was obvious that she was in a very good mood. Lin Yuan looked at Chu Ci and said, "Sure. You have already become a C-rank spirit chi professional, but why didn't you tell me over the phone? If Teacher Bao didn't tell me, how long were you going to hide it from me?" Chu Ci stuck out her tongue, wrinkled her nose, and said, "I wanted to tell you personally when you came to see me, but old Bao spilled the beans before I told you." Apart from giving her a sense of security, her progress had also improved a lot. Perhaps the happiest thing was to share it with Lin Yuan and let the person closest to him share the joy of his advancement. Lin Yuan was actually quite surprised. Although Lin Yuan knew that Chu Ci had good talent, he did not expect that she would be able to reach C rank from D rank in such a short period of cultivation. Lin Yuan knew that he was an anomaly. Spirit Chi professionals had to rely on enhancing phase to increase their rank, so he could not compare himself with Chu Ci. However, even the people in the front row of the Radiance 100 sequence, such as the Radiance 100 sequence number 3, Long Tao, who was known as Overturn the Sea, could not compare to them. Right now, he was only a pinnacle B rank Spirit Chi professional, and there was still a very difficult boundary to cross from A rank. Chu Ci was only 15 years old, and Long Tao might not be able to break through to become a C rank Spirit Chi professional by the time he was 15. At that moment, Chu Ci whispered to Lin Yuan, "Don't worry. Lin Yuan, I seem to have comprehended a willpower rune after becoming a C-rank Spirit Chi professional." After saying that, Chu Ci circulated her mind power. A willpower rune with a black metallic luster flew out of Chu Ci's mind. This willpower rune with a black metallic luster revolved around Chu Ci's body, giving off an extremely heavy feeling. Before Lin Yuan could digest his previous surprise, Chu Ci had given him another shock. Chu Ci had comprehended a willpower rune at the age of 15, which was equivalent to possessing a fantasy breed Fae. There might not be an absolute boundary between a Spirit Chi professional's grade and a contracted phase grade, but they were closely related. The limit of a D-rank Spirit Chi professional was to be able to control a bronze Fae. A C-rank Spirit Chi professional's limit was a gold Fae. At B rank, Spirit Chi professionals could only control platinum phase at their limit. As for A rank Spirit Chi professionals, their limit was already at the diamond grade. If one wanted a Fae to reach the suzerain grade, the Spirit Chi professional would need to be at S rank first. If the Spirit Chi professional's grade was not up to par, it might cause a very awkward situation if they rashly increased the phase grade. For example, if one's spiritual energy could not withstand the load, it might collapse. The increase in a Spirit Chi professional's grade would also increase the spiritual energy and the Spirit Chi in the body. If the number of contracted phase was small, the spiritual energy might barely reach the standard and not collapse. However, even if the spiritual energy did not collapse, the spiritual power in the body would definitely not be able to keep up with the consumption of the phase abilities. Therefore, it had always been a big taboo for Spirit Chi professionals to rashly look for a creation master to increase the phase grade when their grade was not up to par. Chu Ci was now a C-rank Spirit Chi professional and had reached the level where she could withstand gold phase. Chu Ci's willpower rune had the oppressive feeling of metal, which was obviously very suitable for the sharp iron horn bull. At that moment, a pleasant yet strange voice suddenly echoed in his ears. Lin Yuan, your sister's talent is simply too shocking. Given time, her future will be limitless. Even though the mother of Bloodbath was experienced and knowledgeable, it could not help but sigh at Chu Si's talent. When Lin Yuan saw that Chu Si had a willpower rune, he said to her seriously, give Teacher Bao a call later and ask for 10 days of leave. Lin Yuan did not say what to do, and Chu Si did not ask either. She immediately called Teacher Bao. When Teacher Bao saw that it was Chu Si who was asking for leave, he thought that there was something wrong with her hand and did not hesitate to approve it. When Teacher Bao saw that it was Chu Si who asked for leave, he thought that there was something wrong with her hand and approved it without hesitation. However, due to Chu Si's talent, this Iron Bucket Sister plan needed to be implemented now. When Lin Yuan saw that Chu Si had finished the call, he reached out and touched her head. When Lin Yuan saw that Chu Si was done with the call, he reached out and touched her head. After Chu Si finished the call, Lin Yuan reached out to touch her head and said, Chu Si, you can be considered a powerful spirit chi professional now. If Chu Si had a fantasy breed fae, she would indeed be able to bear the word powerful. Apart from needing a willpower rune, the most difficult thing for a bronze/fantasy breed fae was to increase its quality to legend. Most creation masters would not be able to do anything about such an ability. Faes also had different talents. Faes with extremely high talents could also increase their quality to a very high level without the help of a creation master. However, such faes were always encountered and not sought after. He did not know what grade of creation master would be able to evolve a bronze fae to legend. However, ordinary class 4 creation masters obviously could not do it, and Lin Yuan did not know if pinnacle class 4 creation masters could succeed. However, it was not difficult for Lin Yuan to increase a bronze fae to legend. Given Lin Yuan's standard as a C-rank spirit chi professional, he only needed 5 days to enhance faes in the spirit lock spatial zone and upgrade a bronze fae to legend. Therefore, the real difficulty for Chu Si to have a fantasy breed at bronze was that she needed a willpower rune. She already had this willpower rune. Lin Yuan had asked Chu Si to apply for 10 days of leave from Teacher Bao because he wanted to properly enhance her. When Chu Si saw that Lin Yuan had been looking serious as though he was thinking about something, she whispered to him seriously, Lin Yuan, I didn't tell anyone that I comprehended a willpower rune. Lin Yuan, I didn't tell anyone that I comprehended a willpower rune. Upon hearing Chu Si's words, Lin Yuan laughed. There was a saying that children from poor families matured early, and this saying was indeed true. Lin Yuan had lived 2 lives and naturally understood the principle of, the tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. Chu Si had grown up in a difficult environment and also understood this principle. Lin Yuan was very pleased with Chu Si's cautiousness. At the same time, Lin Yuan looked at Chu Si with a firm gaze and said, it's a good thing to hide your edge. However, from now on, you don't need to hide your edge anymore. You can show your talents to your heart's content. Lin Yuan had already made a decision when he knew that Chu Si had comprehended a willpower rune. He wanted to tell his master, the Moon Empress, about Chu Si's talent. He could afford all of Chu Si's faes and resources in the future. However, Lin Yuan needed to ensure that Chu Si could show her talent to her heart's content in front of everyone with such a strong talent and that no one would have any bad ideas because of jealousy. Lin Yuan had always wanted to roam the world single-handedly. However, Lin Yuan knew that the moment he had acknowledged the Moon Empress as his master, she had already become his teacher and a relative who had no blood relations with him. No matter what, Lin Yuan would always have one of the Radiance Federation's 3 Class 5 creation masters behind him. With the Moon Empress around, Chu Si's safety would not be a problem. As he looked at Chu Si, Lin Yuan could not help but feel proud. Lin Yuan's heart was filled with lofty sentiments. Since my sister has talent, why does she need to hide? She should shine in the center of everyone. At the same time, Lin Yuan's gaze became increasingly firm. Given his current improvement speed, he would be able to protect Chu Si even if he was alone in 2 years. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly felt as though he had a daughter in his family who had just matured. Baiduan read the latest chapter of the Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Bookhouse for free. Chapter 156. Since he had decided to give Chu Xi an upgrade, Lin Yuan did not delay at all. After Lin Yuan and Chu Xi went to have a meal, he brought Chu Xi to the Redbud City's Creation Master Association. At that time, Lin Yuan had completed the Class 2 Creation Master exam in the Redbud City's Creation Master Association. This time, Lin Yuan first paid a visit to Elder Ning. When he saw Elder Ning, he found that Elder Ning was still nurturing that spiral-toothed shark. Compared to when Lin Yuan had seen the spiral-toothed shark more than 2 months ago, this spiral-toothed shark had become even larger. At the same time, it was also stronger. This was a sign that the spiral-toothed shark was about to undergo prehistoric atavism again. It seemed that Elder Ning's intention of activating the trace of Megalodon's bloodline in this spiral-toothed shark was really very likely to be realized. After paying a visit to Elder Ning, Lin Yuan rented a breeding room in the Creation Master Association as a Class 2 Creation Master. Then, he prepared some fresh fruits rich in spirit qi in the breeding room, which became Lin Yuan's meals for the next few days. In these few days, Lin Yuan wanted to carry out a qualitative upgrade for Chu Xi. Although Chu Xi had been attending school in Redbud City for some time, this was her first time coming to the Creation Master Association in Redbud City. As a member of the Radiance Federation, Chu Xi did not know much about the various aspects of Creation Master's phase. However, Chu Xi also knew the status of Creation Masters in the Radiance Federation. Lin Yuan being able to become a Creation Master made Chu Xi exceptionally proud. Lin Yuan's expectations for Chu Xi were the same as Chu Xi's expectations for him. It was just that she was healthy. However, she would not be less proud of any achievements of the other party. Lin Yuan took out the Vidra butterfly stored in the leaf-shaped diamond Fei storage box in the breeding room. Fei name, Vidra butterfly, Fei species, chrysalis/chrysalis, Fei grade, bronze, 10/10, Fei type, metal, Fei quality, epic abilities frowny face wing block, condense hard metal on the wings to block. Steel pattern shield, quickly attach to the target and condense a hard metal transparent omnidirectional shield that can follow the target's movement. Exclusive skill frowny face counterattack tremor. When attacked, a portion of the damage received will be reflected back in the form of an energy tremor, regardless of whether it is a physical attack or a magic attack. Lin Yuan was very satisfied with this Vidra butterfly, especially its exclusive skill. This Vidra butterfly is very suitable for you and can take on your responsibilities as a defense-type spirit qi professional. After the Vidra butterfly appeared, Chu Xi saw a butterfly the size of an adult's fist that looked like a metal sculpture flying around Lin Yuan. The butterfly's wings shone with a dark metallic luster, with many metallic patterns. While flying, the Vidra butterfly flew to Chu Xi's side at Lin Yuan's signal. Chu Xi extended her hand, and the Vidra butterfly immediately landed on it. After teasing the Vidra butterfly for a while, Chu Xi formed a contract with it. She was naturally very clear about the responsibilities of a defense-class spirit qi professional. In a team, defense-class spirit qi professionals had to cooperate with the rest of the team to take on the responsibility of defense in the team. Although the sharp iron horn bull was a defense-type Fey, it was undoubtedly more like a combat-class Fey, and its sacrifice characteristic was only effective against Chu Xi. Therefore, Chu Xi had only formed a contract with the sharp iron horn bull. If she formed a team with others as a defense-class spirit qi professional, she would obviously not be qualified. But now that she had the Vidra butterfly, things were clearly different. After Chu Xi completed the contract with the Vidra butterfly, Lin Yuan let her summon the sharp iron horn bull. The sharp iron horn bull moved as soon as it appeared. It gently rubbed its cheek against Chu Xi's hand, still worried about Chu Xi's injuries in the previous battle. Clearly, it was very attached to Chu Xi. Then, the sharp iron horn bull saw Lin Yuan and turned its head to Chu Xi. Under Chu Xi's signal, it walked to Lin Yuan's side. It shook its head at Lin Yuan as a greeting. It was obvious that the sharp iron horn bull still remembered Lin Yuan, but after becoming Chu Xi's contracted Fey, it had forgotten about him. Although it remembered that Lin Yuan had saved it at that time, the moment it became Chu Si's contracted Fae, it would only listen to Chu Si's words. Faes had a spirit, and they always chose one person for life. Chu Si looked at the sharp iron horn bull's current state and knew that she had nurtured it well. At that moment, the sharp iron horn bull had evolved from bronze level I 2 months ago to bronze level 4. Such a speed was undoubtedly very fast without the help of a creation master. In addition, the sharp iron horn bull's body was much stronger than before. The metal luster on its body was thicker, and even the horns on its head were sharper. Clearly, the sharp iron horn bull usually ate a lot of metal to have such good development. However, Chu Si was now faced with a choice. The willpower rune that Chu Si had comprehended had a strong feeling of metal. Therefore, this willpower rune was very suitable for both the sharp iron horn bull and the Vajra butterfly that she had just formed a contract with. In such a situation, Chu Si, as the contractor, had to make a choice. Lin Yuan knew that the choice would be very difficult, but Chu Si had to make a choice because there was only one willpower rune, after all. Chu Si, your willpower runes are suitable for both the Vajra butterfly and the sharp iron horn bull. Which Fae do you want to evolve into a fantasy breed? Fantasy breed? Chu Si asked in surprise. She could not make sense of the situation. Why did Lin Yuan suddenly mention fantasy breed? He even asked her to choose between the sharp iron horn bull and the Vajra butterfly to evolve into a fantasy breed first. Although fantasy breeds were not considered common knowledge, they were taught in Chu Si's courses. Chu Si naturally knew that to evolve a Fae into a fantasy breed, she needed to evolve it to legend. Chu Si looked at Lin Yuan in a daze. Could Lin Yuan be able to evolve a Fae to legend? Lin Yuan reached out and scratched the tip of Chu Si's nose, bringing her back to reality. Silly girl, when have I ever lied to you? The choice you make this time will affect your future development path for a long time, so you must be careful. She had always trusted him unconditionally. Therefore, she was now carefully thinking about the problem that Lin Yuan had asked her to think about and began to weigh the use of willpower runes in her heart. In the end, Chu Si said firmly after a moment of contemplation. I choose the sharp iron horn bull. Lin Yuan sighed. Selfishly, he hoped that she would choose the Vajra butterfly. Since the Vajra butterfly had evolved into a fantasy breed, it could protect Chu Si's safety very well, and she would almost never be in danger of having her arm fractured like today. After all, the Vajra butterfly was an extremely powerful defense-type Fae. After evolving into a fantasy breed and awakening its second exclusive skill, its defense would only become stronger. Previously, Lin Yuan had wanted to create an iron bucket sister. However, as a spirit chi professional and a person with an independent personality, she had the right to choose the path she wanted to take in the future. As an elder brother, Lin Yuan would intervene when it came to major issues, but he could only guide her on this path. At that moment, Lin Yuan asked again very cautiously. Have you really decided on the sharp iron horn bull? Willpower runes had always been something that could only be encountered and not sought. Although Chu Si had already obtained a willpower rune, she did not know when she would obtain another willpower rune again. Therefore, all spirit chi professionals were very cautious about the phase they wanted to choose for the willpower rune. Once they chose a Fae to fuse with the willpower rune, it was very likely that their combat style and combat system in the future would change with this choice. Chu Si nodded without the slightest hesitation this time, her eyes shining. Lin Yuan, I'm sure. Chu Si also had her own goal. She wanted to pass the Redbud 100 selection and become one of the top 10. Then, she would represent Redbud City to participate in the Radiance 100 sequence competition. Chu Si had some considerations in her heart. If she chose the Vajra butterfly, although her defense would increase, her combat ability would undoubtedly be much weaker than choosing the sharp iron horn bull. However, whether it was the Redbud 100 selection or the Radiance 100 sequence competition, individual ability was undoubtedly more important than team ability. Therefore, if he wanted to be in the top 10 of the Redbud 100 and be qualified to participate in the Radiance 100 sequence competition, it would undoubtedly be more suitable to evolve the sharp iron horn bull into a fantasy breed. At the same time, as Chu Si's first Fae, the sharp iron horn bull had long since adapted to fighting with it. In fact, Chu Ci, a 15-year-old girl, had her own ambitions. She wanted to use her own efforts to stand in the Radiance 100 sequence. Although she had always been sheltered under Lin Yuan's wings, she still felt that she could not help it. However, one day, she also wanted to be fully fledged and able to protect him. This was the warm ambition of a young girl. After Chu Ci made up her mind, Lin Yuan began to prepare to enhance the sharp iron horn bull. I hope that friends who like this book can come to QQ to support the original version. Thank you very much. Baidu, read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 157. Lin Yuan's Fey affinity was with healing type phase, support type phase, and plant type phase. However, as a healing type and support type phase, Lin Yuan had the heart to output. Lin Yuan chose to nurture Red Thorn into a combat class Fey. He chose to nurture Red Thorn into a combat class Fey. Just by looking at Red Thorn's current form, it could be seen how dedicated Lin Yuan was to output. However, Lin Yuan did not expect his younger sister to be like him. As a defense-type spirit chi professional, she was addicted to controlling a big iron bull to output. It was true that people who were not of the same family would not enter the same door. If he wanted to upgrade the bronze sharp iron horn bull's quality to legend, he would need more than 5 days. During these 5 days, Lin Yuan would be able to enhance the sharp iron horn bull by himself in the breeding room. At that moment, a bell rang at the breeding room's door. During normal days, if a creation master was nurturing Fays in the creation master's breeding room, no one would disturb them. Therefore, when the bell at the breeding room's door rang, Lin Yuan knew that Elder Ning had arrived. When Lin Yuan had come to visit Chu Ci, he had only wanted to send her the silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar and let her sign a contract with the Vajra butterfly that he had nurtured previously. He had not expected her to comprehend a willpower rune. If he wanted to enhance the sharp iron horn bull's quality to legend, he would need some spiritual ingredients to assist. However, due to the suddenness of the matter, Lin Yuan had not prepared these spiritual ingredients in advance. Therefore, when he had visited Elder Ning just now, Lin Yuan had asked Elder Ning to see if there were any spiritual ingredients needed to enhance the sharp iron horn bull's quality in the Redbud City's Creation Master Association's material room. Lin Yuan opened the door and saw Elder Ning standing there. At the same time, Lin Yuan saw Ning Xuejuan, who had received him when he had participated in the Creation Master exam in the Redbud City's Creation Master Association. Ning Xuejuan was Elder Ning's granddaughter. Ning Xuejuan was holding a bronze face storage box in her hand. When Ning Xuejuan saw Lin Yuan, she nodded and greeted him. At the same time, her eyes were filled with surprise. Ning Xuejuan had a very deep impression of Lin Yuan, as he was the only one in the Radiance Federation who had scored full marks for all 3 knowledge-type lifestyle spirit chi occupations Class 1 exams. Ning Xuejuan was surprised to see Lin Yuan again. Compared to before, Lin Yuan's temperament seemed to have changed a lot. Elder Ning looked at Lin Yuan and laughed heartily. Little Yuan, this old man has already prepared all the spiritual materials you asked for previously. At least, he no longer had to waste time collecting the spiritual ingredients needed to upgrade the sharp iron horn bull to legend. Lin Yuan touched the back of his head and smiled brightly. Elder Ning, thank you for your trouble. If he wanted to upgrade the bronze sharp iron horn bull to legendary grade, he would need a large amount of ferromanganese ores and metal essences. Ferromanganese ores and metal essences were not very rare spirit materials. Metal essence was the crystallization left behind by mixing a large amount of metals together and forging them at high temperatures. Ferromanganese ore is a dark blue flake of metal deep in the earth. While ferromanganese ore was abnormally hard, if one touched it with their hands, their fingers would feel a kind of metallic prickling. Metal essence and ferromanganese ore were 2 spiritual materials. Metal essence required 250 caddies, while ferromanganese ore required 1,000 caddies. Metal essence's price was about 2 radiance dollars per caddy, while ferromanganese ore required nearly 8 radiance dollars per caddy. If it were in the past, Lin Yuan would not be able to take out nearly 20,000 radiance dollars at once. However, since he had the massive amount of radiance dollars in Chengwu's beetle-shaped Fey storage box, Lin Yuan no longer needed to be restrained if he wanted to buy these spiritual ingredients to nurture Feys. He could just buy them and use them. Ning Xuejuan handed the bronze Fey storage box to Lin Yuan and looked at Chu Ci, who was beside him. Ning Xuejuan could tell at a glance that Chu Ci was Lin Yuan's younger sister, even though Chu Ci and Lin Yuan's temperament was completely different. Lin Yuan was the kind of sunny youth that made people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. Chu Ci, on the other hand, had a trace of coldness in her tranquility. Although she had a smile on her face, she seemed to have a faint sense of alienation from everything except Lin Yuan. Even if their temperaments were completely different, their eyebrows and eyes were very similar. With this kind of facial resemblance, it was obvious that they were related by blood. Ning Xuejuan extended her hand in a friendly manner and greeted Chu Ci. Chu Ci was stunned. Then, she smiled faintly and shook hands with Ning Xuejuan politely. When Elder Ning saw this, he looked at Chu Ci and laughed. "Little Yuan, you are nurturing Feys inside and can't take care of this little girl. Why don't I bring the little girl out and let my granddaughter accompany her to stroll around?" It just so happened that Lin Yuan had been thinking about enhancing his Feys. He could not possibly let her stay in this breeding room out of boredom. He needed to focus on nurturing Feys for the next 5 days. He really could not bear to leave her aside. He was more at ease now that Chu Ci was with Elder Ning and Ning Xuejuan. Chu Ci turned to look at Lin Yuan. After Lin Yuan nodded, she openly followed Elder Ning and Ning Xuejuan out of the breeding room. Lin Yuan was the only one left in the breeding room. Lin Yuan also took out the metal essences and ferromanganese ores stored in the bronze Fey storage box that Ning Xuejuan had just handed over. Then, he touched the sharp iron horn bull's horns and said, "Iron lump, go eat these metal essences and ferromanganese ores, then I'll raise your grade." Although the sharp iron horn bull was not as intelligent as Chimey, it could still understand Lin Yuan's words. Understanding Lin Yuan's meaning, the sharp iron horn bull immediately snorted excitedly and hurriedly ate the metal essences and ferromanganese ores that Lin Yuan had put on the ground. Although there were 250 kilograms of metal essence and 1,000 kilograms of ferromanganese iron, which sounded like a lot, it wasn't worth it. However, because the metal essence and the ferromanganese ores were extremely dense, they were abnormally heavy. Therefore, the metal essences and ferromanganese ores didn't seem to be much. Just as the sharp iron horn bull was happily eating the metal essences and ferromanganese ores, Lin Yuan looked at it and smiled faintly. In Lin Yuan's opinion, obtaining the severely injured elite/epic sharp rock bull had been a great bargain and an excellent Fey. But now that Lin Yuan had money, he could easily buy a lot of defense-type Feys that were better than the elite/epic sharp rock bull. Fortunately, the elite-ranked sharp rock bull had comprehended the sacrifice skill at elite rank. This rare ability allowed the sharp iron horn bull to be above most defense-type Feys. When Lin Yuan had just recovered his body and could feel spirit chi, he didn't have any time to accumulate resources. Therefore, it was really difficult for Lin Yuan to prepare a defense-type Fey for Chu Ci. However, as a big brother, Lin Yuan had a clear conscience. Back then, Lin Yuan had fulfilled that sentence. "What I'm giving you might not be the best, but this is what I can give. It's the best I can give now." The sharp iron horn bull had undergone a great transformation because of sacrifice. Now, the sharp iron horn bull was about to usher in its second transformation in its bull life. This transformation was also an extremely important sublimation in Chu Ci's life. Lin Yuan quickly circulated the spiritual power in his body, and the pure spirit chi was quickly absorbed by every cell in the sharp iron horn bull's body. The sharp iron horn bull's cells seemed to be activated by this pure spiritual power and showed a hungry state, scrambling to absorb the energy in the metal essences and ferromanganese ores in its stomach. Time flew, and Lin Yuan basically didn't rest much for the past 5 days. At that moment, the sharp iron horn bull suddenly mooed. The sharp iron horn bull's body, which was originally nearly 3 meters tall, had now skyrocketed to 3.5 meters and become stronger. The horns on both sides of its head and the horn on its forehead were even sharper, flickering with a cold metallic light. At that moment, Lin Yuan had finally promoted the bronze sharp iron horn bull's quality to legend. Next, he had to wait for Chu Ci to fuse the willpower rune with the sharp iron horn bull and evolve it into a fantasy breed. Read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 158. At noon, Chu Ci and Ning Xuejuan had just returned from a meal outside. Ning Xuejuan had been interacting with Chu Ci for the past few days, and she always felt that Chu Ci was refreshing her senses over and over again. At first, Ning Xuejuan felt that Chu Ci was a girl who was indifferent and alienated from everything except Lin Yuan. However, after interacting with her for a few days, Ning Xuejuan realized that Chu Ci wasn't indifferent to everything. Even that faint sense of alienation had completely disappeared after a few days of interaction. In the end, Ning Xuejuan finally understood that Chu Ci's estrangement stemmed from her personality of not wanting to worry about things that didn't concern her, as well as her shyness. Elder Ning had been researching and cultivating the spiral-toothed shark as usual these past few days. Therefore, Ning Xuejuan had been with Chu Ci for the past few days, whether they were eating or resting, and they gradually became friends. Chu Ci, let's not go to this place for dinner tomorrow. Why did they put so much garlic in their cold dish? In the afternoon, I still have to receive some newcomers who are participating in the Creation Master exam. Ning Xuejuan pouted. When Chu Ci heard Ning Xuejuan's words, she took out a watermelon-flavored hard candy from her pocket. The watermelon-flavored hard candy had a refreshing watermelon flavor, and it was able to cover up the strong garlic taste in the mouth. Chu Ci had always had the habit of putting a piece of hard candy in her pocket because her body had been weak in the past and would often feel dizzy. Or they might suffer from hypoglycemia due to the daily chores of maintaining the store. When Chu Ci was by his side, she would hand over the hard candy in her pocket when he was dizzy. Even though Lin Yuan's body had recovered, she still maintained this habit that she had developed for nearly a decade. Ning Xuejuan's eyes lit up when she saw the hard candy Chu Ci handed her. She took it and put it in her mouth, immediately speaking in an exaggerated manner. Chu Ci, watermelon-flavored hard candy tastes so good. It's much better than chocolate. At this moment, there were two spirit chi professionals seated in the Creation Master Association's first floor hall. They looked like females in their 20s and were dressed very beautifully. It was likely that they had made an appointment with a Creation Master to nurture their phase. At that moment, Chu Ci suddenly heard a long-haired female spirit chi professional speak. Last night, my best friend told me that her boyfriend of 8 years had cheated on her. Asked the short-haired female spirit chi professional, who was clearly interested in this topic. Why? How could he cheat on her? After 8 years together, you should have a child by now. The long-haired female spirit chi professional was fiddling with the decorations on her spirit chi attire and said in disdain. Not a single man is good. Another female spirit chi professional quickly chimed in. That's right, I think so too. Otherwise, I wouldn't still be single. As soon as he finished speaking, the long-haired female spirit chi professional beside him sighed. 8 whole years of love. To think that you couldn't even resist my seduction. Ning Xuejuan started coughing after hearing the conversation. She almost choked on the watermelon-flavored hard candy in her mouth. Chu Ci also had a strange expression on her face. Chu Ci couldn't help but think to herself. Is this the world of adults? The world of adults was too scary. Fortunately, I'm just a kid. In the afternoon, Ning Xuejuan went to receive the newcomers that were participating in the Creation Master exam. Chu Ci logged onto the star web in Ning Xuejuan's office and watched the videos of defense-class spirit chi professionals fighting in the S tournament to learn their defensive techniques. At that moment, Chu Ci received a call from Lin Yuan. Chu Ci arrived at the breeding room where Lin Yuan was. As soon as she entered, she saw that her contracted sharp iron horn bull was much stronger than before, be it in size or the sharpness of its horns. Lin Yuan was currently feeding some metal spiritual ingredients to the sharp iron horn bull so that it could accumulate more energy in preparation for becoming a fantasy breed. Lin Yuan stood up when he saw Chu Xi come in. Chu Xi, the sharp iron horn bull's quality has reached legend now. Fuse the willpower rune you comprehended with the sharp iron horn bull, and it will evolve into a fantasy breed. Chu Xi was currently looking at the sharp iron horn bull. She couldn't help but be astonished to see that the sharp iron horn bull had changed so much in 5 days. Although she knew about the means of creation masters, she had always been in school and had never seen or experienced it. The sharp iron horn bull was intimately rubbing its cheek against Chu Xi's palm. Chu Xi was surprised by the sharp iron horn bull's changes while feeling the growth brought about by its quality improvement. She was happy. The splendor of life lay in evolution. No matter what kind of creature it was, every evolution and evolution was a small epitome of life's greatness. Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows and smiled when he saw Chu Xi's astonished look. He said with a smile, "When you fuse the willpower rune with the sharp iron horn bull, it will truly transform." Chu Xi, under what circumstances did you comprehend the willpower rune? This is very important because this willpower rune will affect the direction of your exclusive skill. Chu Xi stuck out her tongue and carefully glanced at Lin Yuan before replying embarrassedly, "Well, when I was fighting against the seniors, the sharp iron horn bull was knocked down again and again." Well, when I was fighting against the seniors, the sharp iron horn bull was knocked down again and again, but it always stood up and charged. Because of this, I felt the sharp iron horn bull's steel-like will and comprehended this willpower rune. Lin Yuan held his forehead. What else could he say? Chu Xi's willpower rune was formed by recklessness. Did that mean that his plan to raise his sister into an iron bucket had failed at this stage? When Lin Yuan saw her careful expression, he rubbed the hair on the top of her head and said, "Don't worry. No matter how you walk your own path, I, your brother, will always stand behind you, so you can proudly stride forward." Chu Xi beamed brightly and nodded vigorously. Then, she silently said in her heart, "You're right. Brother, I also want to tell you in the future that I can stand behind you. Even if I can't protect you, I want to help you and fight alongside you." Chu Xi summoned the willpower rune in her spiritual space. Since they had been outside, the willpower rune that Chu Xi had summoned had flashed by, and he had not had the chance to carefully feel it. But now, this bluish-black willpower rune had an iron-like willpower and a heavy metallic smell that moved Lin Yuan. Through this willpower rune, Lin Yuan could see how hard a 15-year-old girl and her bronze-sharp iron horn bull worked on a daily basis. As Chu Xi urged the dark green willpower rune, it fused with the sharp iron horn bull. A violent mooing resounded in the breeding room. It was different from the calm when the plant-type Fae, the jasmine lily, had evolved into a fantasy breed. At that moment, the sharp iron horn bull's body trembled violently in the thick metallic halo. It was obviously trying its best to endure the pain. Suddenly, the metallic halo flourished, and a pure black color rose from the bluish-black halo. At that moment, Lin Yuan and Chu Xi realized that the horns on both sides of the sharp iron horn bull's head and the sword-like horn on its forehead instantly melted. Then, the sharp iron horn bull's entire body was wrapped in this sudden flourishing metallic halo. Read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 159. Chu Xi saw the sharp iron-armored bull's horns suddenly melt, and then its entire body was completely enveloped by a metallic halo. Hearing the sharp iron horn bull's pained moo, Chu Xi could not help but feel anxious, and her mind wavered. At that moment, she heard Lin Yuan's voice. When a sharp iron horn bull advances to a fantasy breed, it will undergo an all-round change. Fantasy breeds transform and sublimate their genetic model, so the sharp iron horn bull will definitely experience pain when its body is reconstructed. Lin Yuan's words put Chu Xi at ease. She listened to the sharp iron horn bull's painful roar. Chu Xi felt an indescribable heartache for this companion she had been with day and night. This greenish-black metallic halo was abnormally thick, but there was an extremely pure black color rising from it. Ink flowed in this metallic halo, and not long after, the ink gave off an obsidian-like luster. Gradually, an obsidian-like luster replaced the greenish-black metallic halo. The sound of a bull's mooing could be heard even in the breeding room. This obsidian-like luster was completely restless. Finally, this restless obsidian-like luster converged and condensed, and was completely absorbed by the sharp iron horn bull's eyes. Accompanied by Chu Si's exclamation, the sharp iron horn bull, which had been promoted to a fantasy breed, finally revealed its true appearance. If the sharp iron horn bull was said to have sharp horns and unusually thick armor, then the sharp iron horn bull looked like a simpleton. Right now, the sharp iron horn bull's entire body was condensed with a kind of Zhuangyi's beauty in battle. This kind of beauty was hidden behind the boiling will of steel, with an indomitable determination. The sharp iron horn bull's originally greenish-black body had completely turned black. This black was not pure black, but like obsidian, it would produce various colored flares under a beam of light. Lin Yuan looked at the sharp iron horn bull and suddenly felt that it seemed to have a sense of aesthetics when it evolved into a fantasy breed. He had actually tidied himself up into a colorful black. However, it had to be said that the sharp iron horn bull's obsidian-like body combined with its smooth metallic lines made it look less cumbersome than before. Just by looking at the sharp iron horn bull's eyes, it was as if it was an arrogant and determined beast. The sharp iron horn bull's melted horns did not grow back. Instead, there were dark holes where the horns used to be. However, the metal elements gushing out of the holes would form all kinds of horns on the sharp iron horn bull's head according to its will. After the sharp iron horn bull completed its evolution, it trotted to Chu Si's side and rubbed its head lovingly against her hand. In the past, the sharp iron horn bull had to be very careful every time it came into contact with Chu Si. If the sharp horns were to touch her hand, they would cut her hand. But now that it was a fantasy breed, the sharp iron horn bull no longer needed to worry about hurting Chu Si. When the sharp iron horn bull evolved into a fantasy breed, its horns would be completely elemental, and it would only condense its horns according to its will during battle. In his opinion, the elementalized bull horn was many times stronger than the sharp iron horn bull's horn. The sharpness and hardness of the sharp iron horn bull's horns, which had been upgraded to a fantasy breed, were many times higher than before. However, the strength of the sharp iron horn bull's elemental horns did not lie in their hardness and sharpness. Instead, it lay in the ability to change its shape, length, and direction at will. When the sharp iron horn bull charged, it had to adjust the angle of its horns according to the target to achieve the maximum degree of damage or defense. But now, when the sharp iron horn bull charged, it could directly control its elemental horns to condense them into various shapes and greet the target's weakness. The elemental condensation only took an instant, and it was not easy to dodge. It was just like when the sharp iron horn bull and other horn fays clashed, and the other horn fays and the sharp iron horn bull's sharp horns collided. When the sharp iron horn bull used its elemental horns to block, it could instantly condense a sharp black horn to penetrate the target's eyes or even pierce the skull and brain. Chu Si was feeling the sharp iron horn bull's changes, and her eyes were full of vigor and surprise. At that moment, he used Morbius True Data and started to check the sharp iron horn bull's true data. Fey name, Obsidian Iron Wild Bull, Fey species, Horn species/Bull species, Fey grade, Bronze, 10/10, Fey type, Metal, Fey quality, Fantasy Eye abilities Frowny Face Iron Horn, Enhanced Metal is attached to the horn to launch a self-sacrificial piercing attack regardless of injuries. Sacrifice, when the contractor is injured, help the contractor share the damage. If the contractor is injured, it will feed back its vitality to the contractor. Exclusive skill Frowny Face Pain Absorption, when receiving damage, absorb a portion of the damage and turn it into vitality. Annihilation Gaze, arrogant battle consciousness and battle zeal drive its instinctive footsteps. The Obsidian Iron Wild Bull instantly transforms all the damage it receives in battle into a spiritual impact to counterattack the opponent. Under True Data, Lin Yuan raised his brows. The Sharp Iron Horn Bull should no longer be called the Sharp Iron Horn Bull but the Obsidian Iron Wild Bull. Lin Yuan's eyes lit up when he saw the Sharp Iron Horn Bull's exclusive skill after becoming a fantasy breed Obsidian Iron Wild Bull. Sharp Iron Armored Bull, this boorish fellow, was really something. However, after evolving into a fantasy breed Obsidian Iron Wild Bull, it was getting further and further away from being a defense-type Fey. However, when Lin Yuan observed the obsidian iron wild bull's abilities, he found that they had been enhanced to different extents after becoming a fantasy breed. Its basic ability, Iron Horn, had increased its penetrative ability. The biggest change was the rare ability, Sacrifice, that it had comprehended at Elite. The obsidian iron wild bull's rare skill, Sacrifice, not only helped its contestant take damage, but it could also return its life force to its contestant. Lin Yuan could not help but look at the obsidian iron wild bull in a different light. As a defense-type Fae, the obsidian iron wild bull not only wanted to get its hands on a combat-type Fae but also a healing-type Fae. What a greedy bull. Defense-type Spirit Chi professionals were responsible for the team's defense and needed healing from healing-type Spirit Chi professionals the most. However, the obsidian iron wild bull's Sacrifice ability could not only be used as a shield but also as a large moving health bag. Combined with the bronze exclusive skill, Pain Absorption, it could absorb a certain amount of damage and convert it into vitality. This allowed the obsidian iron wild bull's endurance to rise to a new level. However, the obsidian iron wild bull's excellent replenishment system had become the sharpest sword it had comprehended after becoming a fantasy breed. Who knew how much damage the obsidian iron wild bull would suffer in a battle? When the obsidian iron wild bull was attacked, it could absorb a portion of the damage and automatically replenish its vitality. If the obsidian iron wild bull could not be killed in one blow, it would be an unkillable cockroach. According to the obsidian iron wild bull's exclusive skill, Annihilation Gaze, if the obsidian iron wild bull suffered all the damage in battle and released a spiritual attack through its eyes, the Fae or Spirit Chi professional that was hit by the spiritual attack might become an idiot or even die. Lin Yuan found that the obsidian iron wild bull was simply a defense-type Fae that dabbled in offense and healing. However, these dabbles were all for the sake of being more reckless. Lin Yuan had already written down the obsidian iron wild bull in his notebook and blamed it for Chu Si's recklessness. However, Lin Yuan realized that the obsidian iron wild bull's rare ability, Sacrifice, could be used with the Vajra butterfly to restart his plan of nurturing a younger sister. Are you afraid of a younger sister that can counterattack and recover HP? However, Lin Yuan felt that his previous plan needed to be modified again. While Chu Si was looking at Lin Yuan, she did not know that Lin Yuan was already planning the refined version of his plan of nurturing a younger sister. He wanted to read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Bookhouse for free. Chapter 160. In Lin Yuan's opinion, with the fantasy breed obsidian iron wild bull and the bronze/legend Vajra butterfly, Chu Si would have few opponents in the Redbud Intermediate Spirit Chi Academy and among her peers. At the same time, the obsidian iron wild bull's exclusive skill, Annihilation Gaze, had given it a real attack method. It did not just rely on the horn impact to deal damage, which was a basic physical attack. Now, Annihilation Gaze allowed the obsidian iron wild bull's attack method to reach the spiritual level. If you hit me, I'll shock you. If you hit me again, I'll shock you again. But if I use pain to recover my HP, you'll hit me again. Then I'll use Annihilation Gaze to stare at you. An iron bucket was not scary. An iron bucket full of thorns that could automatically recover was scary. However, Chu Si's current combat was more inclined toward an individual rather than a team's defense. Therefore, Lin Yuan's next choice of phase for Chu Si would be more focused on team defense. After all, a true defense-type Spirit Chi professional would not be able to leave the team. Lin Yuan's little iron block is so strong after becoming a fantasy breed. I can feel that its strength has increased by more than 5 times. Lin Yuan's brows twitched. Was it really appropriate for such a reckless obsidian iron wild bull to have such a cute name? Now that the obsidian iron wild bull has evolved into a fantasy breed, not only has its strength increased, but other aspects have also undergone earth-shaking changes. You'll know when you fight with the senior who injured your arm in the live combat class. Chu Si's eyes lit up. Then I'll try it during the live combat class. Senior Zhao Liang is the class representative for the Year 3 training class. If I can defeat him, I can get extra credits. Lin Yuan let out a soft snort. When the class representative for the Year 3 combat class, Zhao Yang, fights with the evolved obsidian iron wild bull, the evolved obsidian iron wild bull will definitely give him a good beating. Lin Yuan knew that Chu Si's arm injury was not Zhao Yang's fault. In order to achieve the true training goal during the live combat class, one had to fight with all their might. Even if the teacher of the live combat class was watching, injuries were inevitable. But then again, Chu Si was his little sister. Who asked him to always have double standards when facing Chu Si? Chu Si had been delivering food to him on time every day for the past few days. However, when Chu Si sent him 3 meals a day, she realized that he would only eat 1 meal, which was before he had to rest every day. Apart from that, he spent the rest of the time enhancing his small metal fei. Although Chu Si had watched Lin Yuan endure hardships since he was young, she could not help but feel sorry for him when she saw him like this. It just so happened that it was already afternoon, and Lin Yuan had not eaten yet. Lin Yuan, let's eat outside. She originally wanted to say that she was going to Lin Yuan's favorite delicacies. Although she did not spend much time in Redbud City, it was inevitable that she would talk about it when she was with her classmates. Therefore, Chu Si had inadvertently memorized some places. However, when she thought about it, she realized that Lin Yuan had never expressed what he liked or disliked since he was young. Every time he ate, as long as she picked up 2 more dishes with her chopsticks, Lin Yuan would almost never pick up this dish again and would leave it for her. In the past, when the two of them depended on each other, Lin Yuan would make sure to cook 2 dishes for every meal no matter how hard it was, even though one dish might be pitifully small and be gone after 1 or 2 chopsticks. Because Lin Yuan had always cared for her, Chu Si did not remember much of the hardships she had suffered as a child. Instead, every scene in her memories was the sweetness of snuggling with Lin Yuan. At that moment, Lin Yuan also felt hungry. Previously, when he had been enhancing his fei's quality, he had been wholeheartedly focused on it and did not feel hungry. Now that Chu Si had promoted the obsidian iron wild bull into a fantasy breed, Lin Yuan's purpose of renting the breeding room in the Creation Master Association had been achieved. When he heard Chu Si say that they were going to eat, Lin Yuan really felt that his stomach was empty and almost growling. Let's go. We'll say goodbye to Elder Ning, and then I'll take you to eat your favorite seafood. Chu Si revealed a bright smile. No matter when, even when eating, Lin Yuan would always think of what he liked to eat first. When Lin Yuan and Chu Si arrived at Elder Ning's office, they found that he was not there. Lin Yuan thought that if Elder Ning was not in the office at this time, he should be cultivating the spiral-toothed shark in the breeding room. Lin Yuan brought Chu Si to the lobby on the first floor and found Ning Xuejuan, who was currently receiving the newcomers in the lobby. Ning Xuejuan was sitting on a chair, waiting for the newcomers to come out. Lin Yuan went forward and said, "Big Sister Xuejuan, I've finished using the breeding room." "Sister Xuejuan, I've finished using the breeding room. Thank you for taking care of Chu Si for the past few days. Chu Si and I will be leaving first. Please send Elder Ning our regards." Ning Xuejuan smiled and nodded. "No problem. Elder Ning said that the spiral-toothed shark will evolve in the next few days, so he's focused on the breeding room." After Ning Xuejuan finished speaking to Lin Yuan, she made a call gesture to Chu Si. Chu Si immediately responded with a call gesture and flashed a bright smile. Lin Yuan's heart warmed when he saw that. For a girl of Chu Si's age, other people's children were carefree and made good friends. Since Chu Si started going to school, Lin Yuan had never heard anything about friends from her. Now, it seemed that Chu Si and Ning Xuejuan had become friends, which finally made Lin Yuan feel relieved. Lin Yuan had always hoped that Chu Si would not be too mature and could enjoy her childhood to the fullest. In fact, Lin Yuan had worked so hard for so many years because of this. Otherwise, he would not have insisted that Chu Si go to school. After leaving the Redbud City's Creation Master Association's door, Lin Yuan took Chu Si to the Spirit Food Pavilion, which was not far from the Creation Master Association. The Spirit Food Pavilion was an organization that was comparable to Ostrich Logistics. However, Ostrich Logistics was in the logistics business, while the Spirit Food Pavilion opened restaurants. The Spirit Food Pavilion had opened restaurants in the major cities of the Radiance Federation's 32 main cities. The meals in the restaurants were all cooked with various spiritual ingredients. Moreover, the Spirit Food Pavilion was very famous for a variety of fine wines that were very popular in the Radiance Federation. The Spirit Food Pavilion did not have delicacies cooked with ingredients from normal and elite phase. The lowest grade ingredients in the dishes were bronze grade, and some signature dishes even had platinum grade ingredients. However, if one were to eat dishes made with platinum ingredients, the price of a single meal would be sky high. Unless one was really rich, very few people could afford the price. Lin Yuan had brought Chu Ci here because the seafood here was very delicious and famous in the entire Radiance Federation. Another reason was that Chu Ci was now studying at the Redbud Intermediate Spirit Chi Academy and had to train every day. This was a very precious golden period in Chu Ci's life, so Lin Yuan planned to customize a set of ingredients at the Spirit Food Pavilion for a long time. In the future, Chu Ci's 3 meals would be delivered by the Spirit Food Pavilion. Although the food made with nutritious spiritual ingredients would not have any effect if eaten for a few days, it would be different over time. Just as he walked to the entrance of the Spirit Food Pavilion, Lin Yuan saw a young couple quarreling. "Jiang Yan, let's break up. You've eaten too much." The girl punched the boy's head. "My name is Zhang Yan." The boy was stunned. "Which chapter? Which chapter?" The girl punched again. "Zhiang Zhang. Also, you only ordered a plate of chicken wings with 4 wings. I only ate all 4 wings. How can I eat too much?" At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly heard someone calling him from behind. He turned around and saw that it was an acquaintance. "Baidu, read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free." Chapter 161. Lin Yuan turned around and realized that it was Ling Wu, who had brought him to Redbud City to meet Ling Xiao. Ling Wu hurriedly stepped forward and said, "Lord Lin Yuan, are you here to eat at the Spirit Food Pavilion?" Lin Yuan nodded, unable to complain about how Ling Wu addressed him. Lin Yuan smiled at Chu Ci and said, "Lord Lin Yuan, are you here to eat at the Spirit Food Pavilion?" Lin Yuan nodded, unable to complain about how Ling Wu addressed him. Lin Yuan smiled and looked at Chu Ci. Ling Wu looked at Lin Yuan and Chu Ci, and his heart skipped a beat. As Ling Xiao's subordinate officer, Ling Wu did not know why Ling Xiao had brought Lin Yuan to the royal capital. However, based on Ling Xiao's attitude toward Lin Yuan, Ling Wu knew that Lin Yuan's identity was not simple. He hurriedly said, "Lord Lin Yuan's sister is a student of the Redbud Intermediate Spirit Chi Academy. The Redbud Intermediate Spirit Chi Academy's principal will also be there at noon. Why don't Lord Lin Yuan and your sister go together?" Lin Yuan shook his head. "I'll just bring my sister for a meal. I won't disturb you." Ling Wu nodded and did not say anything else. He took his leave and entered the Spirit Food Pavilion first. Chu Ci looked at Lin Yuan and said with a faint smile, "Lord Lin Yuan?" Lin Yuan looked at Chu Ci and said angrily, "Lord Lin Yuan?" Lin Yuan looked at Chu Ci and said angrily, "Lord Chu Ci, please speak." Chu Ci was a little surprised. Although she knew that Lin Yuan was very powerful, she had not expected him to be so well off after listening to the man's words. Although she was surprised, she was not overly surprised, as she had already been surprised when she saw Lin Yuan talking to Elder Ning in the Creation Master Association. Elder Ning was the vice president of Redbud City's Creation Master Association. Even though Ling Wu was City Lordess Ling Zhao's subordinate officer, he could not compare to Elder Ning. Lin Yuan had rejected Ling Wu because in his opinion, Chu Ci only needed to rely on her talent and strength to walk down the path step by step. Only by using strength to win respect would one obtain dignity. It was just like how Qing Rui had been crowned as the #1 creation master of the younger generation and given the title of Feng Yang, when he was only a Class 2 creation master. Perhaps those who weren't in the creation master circle would feel envious, but just by looking at Long Tao's attitude toward Qing Rui, Lin Yuan knew that Qing Rui was just a clown in the eyes of true geniuses. Qing Rui was just a clown. After all, in a world where martial arts was respected, only strength was fundamental. He hoped that she could embark on a path full of brilliance in the future. In the great world, everyone was floating and sinking as they wished. However, in the end, only the righteous path of the human world was the only answer. After entering the Spirit Food Pavilion, he saw that the interior was decorated in an antique style. In the antique Spirit Food Pavilion, a mellow sound of a zither was being played, like rain falling on a banana leaf. At times, the sound of the zither was quiet and tranquil, and at other times, the sound waves curled up in spirals. It gave people a comfortable feeling of seclusion. Even though Lin Yuan had lived 2 lives, he could not help but sigh. The Spirit Food Pavilion's decorations were so exquisite that they were almost impeccable. Lin Yuan and Chu Xi did not go to the private room upstairs. Instead, they sat down in the hall, where there were already many diners around. They tasted the delicacies and ate the 5 grains. Although the bustling hall wasn't as quiet as the private room, there was a different kind of atmosphere. Lin Yuan pushed the menu to Chu Xi. She looked at the price and pushed the menu back to Lin Yuan, saying in a low voice, "Lin Yuan, this place is too expensive. Why don't we go somewhere else? The grilled fish you took me to last time was super delicious." Lin Yuan rubbed the hair on top of Chu Xi's head and handed the menu over. "I'm rich now. You can afford whatever you like." In the end, Chu Xi ordered for a long time and ordered 2 seafood soups made of bronze ingredients. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan took the menu and ordered a few delicacies made of silver ingredients according to Chu Xi's taste. Although the fish head in one of the steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers was a silver-level ingredient, the chopped chili was a gold-level ingredient. Upon seeing this, Chu Xi looked at Lin Yuan with some worry, somewhat afraid that he would spend too much money on this meal and live a tight life. Lin Yuan could understand Chu Xi's thoughts. After all, he had been frugal for the past decade or so. However, Lin Yuan wanted to change Chu Xi's thoughts. He naturally had to be frugal when he had no money, but if he did not spend it when he had money, it would be a waste to leave it there. At that moment, the dishes that Lin Yuan and Chu Xi ordered were served one after another. Just as the waiters of the Spirit Food Pavilion were serving the dishes, a little girl of around 5 to 6 years of age asked from a nearby table, "Mommy, if the little frog can't go home, will Mommy be worried?" The middle-aged woman next to the little girl was clearly the little girl's mother. At this moment, the middle-aged woman was picking up a dried pot bullfrog. When she heard the little girl's question, her hand froze in midair. She was a little embarrassed and didn't know how to answer. The waiter who served Lin Yuan the dishes quickly stepped forward to help. "No, their whole family is here." Lin Yuan, who was drinking the seafood soup, nearly choked on the prawns in the seafood. Such a child-destroying answer was too showy. Lin Yuan could see that she was enjoying the delicacies made of spiritual ingredients. Feeling her happy mood, Lin Yuan ate a lot more than before. After the meal, Lin Yuan ordered 2 months' worth of silver ingredients in the Spirit Food Pavilion for Chu Xi. At Chu Xi's current rank, eating delicacies made from silver spiritual ingredients was the most suitable. After ordering the set meal from the Spirit Food Pavilion, Lin Yuan took Chu Xi to the Treasure Pavilion in Redbud City to buy a large batch of metals and spiritual ingredients that the obsidian iron wild bull usually ate. There was also the energy nectar that the steel-patterned butterfly usually needed. After this purchase, Lin Yuan found that if he used a low-grade phase storage box to store so many spiritual ingredients, it would be really inconvenient for Chu Xi to access them. Therefore, Lin Yuan helped Chu Xi order a diamond phase storage box from Ostrich Logistics. Although Lin Yuan knew that a diamond phase storage box was very expensive, he didn't expect the price to be so ridiculously high. If it weren't for the radiance dollars that Jianghu had left behind, Lin Yuan really couldn't afford this diamond phase storage box for a while. Lin Yuan deliberately didn't promote the obsidian iron wild bull to silver because a bronze fantasy breed fey could better reflect its talent. Since Chu Xi wanted to pursue the path of a genius, he would follow it to the end. Now, Lin Yuan's purpose of meeting Chu Xi was considered completed. Then, Lin Yuan carefully gave the bottle of silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar to Chu Ci. Chu Ci, this silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar can wash away the impurities in the body and increase your potential. When you drink it, just drink it, and it will wash away all the impurities in your body in one go. When Chu Ci saw that Lin Yuan was speaking very solemnly, she also remembered his words very seriously. Although Chu Ci didn't know what the silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar was, just its ability to wash away the impurities in the body and increase one's potential was certainly not ordinary. Since Lin Yuan left the last time, Chu Ci had applied for a single dormitory in order to have enough private space to better improve her strength. Chu Ci planned to drink the silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar first when she returned to the dormitory. After sending Chu Ci back to school, Lin Yuan went to visit City Lordess Ling Xiao. City Lordess Ling Xiao and Elder Ning were both experts who had helped Lin Yuan, so he was very respectful to them. After visiting Ling Xiao, Lin Yuan was about to leave Redbud City. Lin Yuan immediately called his master, the Moon Empress. Baiduan read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 162. In the Radiant Moon Palace's breeding room, the Moon Empress was mixing spiritual ingredients. As the Moon Empress worked smoothly, a bottle of light purple potion was concocted. The Moon Empress' hand shook, and the light purple potion turned into a fragrant mist that enveloped a diamond/epic lotus fay in the lotus pond. This lotus fay quickly absorbed the faint purple fragrant mist, and in a short while, this diamond/epic fay was promoted to diamond/legend. However, when this lotus fay's quality had been promoted from diamond/epic to legend, only half of the fragrant mist had been used. The remaining fragrant mist spread out and was absorbed by the other lotus-shaped fays in the lotus pond. At that moment, the Moon Empress' cell phone on the table in the breeding room rang. It had been a long time since the Moon Empress used a cell phone. If the Moon Empress wanted to meet someone, she could just send a message. If others wanted to see the Moon Empress, they would have to see if they were qualified. The Moon Empress did not have many numbers saved on her cell phone. Generally, those who had numbers on her cell phone were all exceptional experts in the Radiance Federation. Of course, there were exceptions, such as Lin Yuan. The Moon Empress took out her phone and revealed a gentle smile when she saw the caller ID. He answered the call. Lin Yuan, you haven't come to the Radiant Moon Palace to see teacher for some time. Lin Yuan said hurriedly. Teacher, I went to the Endless Forest for wild harvesting some time ago, and now I've come to the Redbud City. When I return to the royal capital, I'll go and see you. Lin Yuan did not tell the Moon Empress about the dimensional rift battle outside Millstone Town, as he was afraid she would be worried. Although Lin Yuan did not say it, the Moon Empress already knew about such a huge matter, especially when it concerned Lin Yuan. After finding out, the Moon Empress first marveled at Lin Yuan's strength. She had always known that Lin Yuan was extremely talented as a creation master, but she didn't expect him to also be so powerful as a combat class spirit chi professional. While the Moon Empress was proud of Lin Yuan, she could not help but feel that she had neglected her duties as a teacher. As for Lin Yuan's safety, the Moon Empress was not worried. With the Mother of Bloodbath, Lin Yuan's path protector, around, even if a Class 3-dimensional rift opened, the Mother of Bloodbath would be able to bring Lin Yuan back unscathed. After chatting with the Moon Empress for a while, Lin Yuan got straight to the point. Teacher, I want to ask you for a favor. When the Moon Empress heard Lin Yuan's words, she almost burst out laughing. During this period of time, the Moon Empress was worried to death. What should she do if her disciple was too independent and didn't rely on his master for anything? Even the Moon Empress, who rarely went on Star Web, did not find an answer when she searched for posts on Star Web because Lin Yuan was too independent. In the end, the Moon Empress posted anonymously to ask for help, but the answer she got almost caused her to crush her phone in anger. If Cold Moon hadn't realized that the Moon Empress was angry and helped her crush the cell phone first, the cell phone would have been crushed by the Moon Empress. Now that the Moon Empress heard that Lin Yuan had taken the initiative to look for her, she couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment as a master. Tell me, Master will do everything for you. The Moon Empress spoke very confidently because there was nothing in this world that couldn't be done after 10 months. He then told the Moon Empress about Chu Si's situation and his thoughts. When the Moon Empress heard that, she couldn't help but support her forehead. She had been happy for nothing. His disciple didn't ask him for help because his disciple had encountered something, but because it was his disciple's younger sister. However, the Moon Empress replied solemnly after hearing Lin Yuan's words. Lin Yuan, don't worry. I'll let Cold Moon do it. After hanging up the phone, Lin Yuan ordered a platinum divine travel black swallow on Star Web and rode it toward the royal capital. The first thing Lin Yuan did when he returned to the royal capital was to confirm the location of his store. During this time, Lu Jie had found quite a number of locations and sent the detailed information of each place to Lin Yuan. After Lin Yuan finally chose, he found 2 places that were rather good. One of them was the place where Jianghu had intercepted him when he had wanted to keep the appointment. The other place was in the bustling area of the royal capital and had a very good location. The choice Lin Yuan had to make was to choose a bustling area that was convenient for him to open a store. It had to be a beautiful scenery and a huge area, but it was a relatively remote suburb. As for how to choose, Lin Yuan still had to see the place to be sure. After Lin Yuan confirmed the store's location after returning to the royal capital, he would enter seclusion for a long time. The first thing he had to do was to fuse Chimey with that Twilight Willpower rune and let it evolve into a fantasy breed. Next, Lin Yuan had to put the acid corrosion queen bee in Red Thorn's digestive cavity and let it hatch. Then, Lin Yuan would raise the acid corrosion queen bee to gold. With such strength, Lin Yuan had the possibility of climbing to the 100th floor of the Star Tower and climbing the Celestial Stairway through the promotion duel. If he climbed the Celestial Stairway and then fought on the Celestial Stairway, he would have a great chance of matching with the Radiance 100 sequence, the pinnacle experts of the Radiance Alliance's younger generation. At the same time, Lu Jie's Insect Queen had been placed in the Pure Land of Bliss in the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone. Over the past few months, the Insect Queen, which had been on the verge of death, had mostly recovered. As long as Lin Yuan spent time healing it for a day or 2, it could fully recover. At that time, Lu Jie could restore his former strength as the Radiance 100 sequence number 39, the Heart of Insect Swarm. At that moment, Lu Jie, who was helping Lin Yuan find the store's location in the royal capital, was standing there confronting someone. Lu Jie, you're really regressing. No matter what, you used to be a member of the Radiance 100 sequence. Now, you're actually a Class 2 Creation Master's retainer. A man with a pair of peach blossom eyes roared at Lu Jie, his tone seeming to have indescribable anger. However, before the man with peach blossom eyes could finish speaking, a deep voice came from the side. This voice stopped the man with peach blossom eyes from saying what he wanted to say next. The man with the deep voice turned to look at Lu Jie and said, Lu Jie, Biyao has such a bad temper. Lu Jie, Biyao is just like a dog. When he found out that you were injured, he searched everywhere for you. But you disappeared without even saying a word, Lu Jie said. Biyao snorted and turned his head to avoid looking at Lu Jie. Lu Jie did not expect to encounter a former teammate. Before Lu Jie was injured, Lu Jie, Biyao, and Wang Fan always went out to train and do missions together. However, Lu Jie knew that he could not recover after being injured, so he was disheartened and left the royal capital. He said goodbye to his former identity as the Radiance 100 sequence number 39, the Heart of Insect Swarm, and became an ordinary down-and-out adventurer. However, Lu Jie, who had always been good-tempered, frowned at Biyao's words. While speaking, Lu Jie lowered his head and looked at the Class 2 Creation Master's retainer crest hanging on his chest. While speaking, Lu Jie looked down at the Class 2 Creation Master retainer crest hanging on his chest. 2 months ago, a youth had given him hope of a new life when he was in despair. This hope had allowed Lu Jie to find his value, his dream, his persistence, and his meaning again. Therefore, Lu Jie had sworn with the willpower rune and offered his future life to become a retainer knight. That was why Lu Jie swore an oath with a willpower rune to become a retainer knight. Biyao gritted his teeth and asked Lu Jie. Has your insect queen been cured? Has your insect queen been cured? Upon seeing Lu Jie shake his head, Biyao clapped his hands. Seeing Lu Jia shake his head, Biyao clapped his hands. After speaking, Biyao pulled Wang Fan, who wanted to say something but hesitated, and left. Wang Fan looked at Biyao and sighed. He wanted to say something but did not say anything. Biyao turned to look at Wang Fan and said very seriously, "Don't worry." Biyao turned to look at Wang Fan and said in a serious tone, "Wang Fan, how much money do you have?" Wang Fan took out his star web card and handed it over. There should be over 20 million radiance dollars in the card. Biyao said as he took the star web card from Wang Fan's hand. "I've saved some money over the past 2 years, and I still have 32 million radiance dollars in my star web card. Including the 20 million radiance dollars in your star web card, we have over 50 million radiance dollars in total. Let's see if we can cure his insect queen." Wang Fan already knew Biyao's temper, so he said helplessly, "You never know how to speak nicely. You have a sharp tongue but a soft heart. Aren't you afraid that you'll hurt Lu Jia when you clap?" Biyao immediately stopped talking. After a long while, he finally managed to say something. "He was the one who hurt me first. He didn't even say anything. He doesn't treat me like a brother at all." Wang Fan was speechless for a moment. When Lu Jia had gotten into trouble, the three of them had pooled money to buy spiritual ingredients for Biyao to evolve his fae. Lu Jia no longer had the strength, and the savings in his star web card had all been pooled for Biyao. Wang Fan really did not know how he had lived for the past few years. At that moment, Wang Fan heard Biyao mumble, "In the future, before Lu Jia's insect queen is cured, I won't spend a single cent. I'll save it all for his insect queen treatment." Biyao had just finished mumbling when he let out a strange cry. Sigh. "I can't reward the sparrow voice lowly goddess during this period. I don't know if I can keep my position on the leaderboard." Wang Fan rolled his eyes. Why is Biyao becoming more and more like a child? He's still watching the sparrow voice lowly goddess's live streaming rewards every day. He's really hopeless. Baidu, read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. You're tuning in to the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.